Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description. Koby's Choice by Sword of the Gods, Axe Hand. Morgan single-handedly shattered Koby's faith in the Marines, breaking his dreams. If a pirate is the first one to ever show you kindness in a world run by a corrupt justice, who do you follow? Well, the future king of the pirates, of course. I don't own anything. Adios.
OWW, the zone groaned, rolling his shoulder until he felt it pop back into its correct place. He refused to turn and see the final result of his plan. He would deal with the resulting emotions of that later when his crewmates were no longer in direct danger. Instead, he shifted into his Dino mode again and tromped toward the light in his hockey that he knew to be Mary. Mary bobbed and weaved with her full knowledge of paper art, the claws of the six-legged blue tiger whiffing past her face more often than not. When the claw did catch her, the Clawbotterman was usually fast enough to destabilize for the second needed to let the sharp weapons pass through her before taking her physical form again. The couple instances it did catch her, however, took her nose both times and an eye once. Like all times, Mary was glad for her Clawbotterman ability to regenerate. She bent backward away from the tiger's swinging claw, Mary utilizing all the flexibility Sanji's influence had provided her to back handspring away and put distance between herself and her opponent. The tiger wasn't looking as hot as it had at the start of their fight. Its pelt was covered in scratches from various tempest kicks, a technique the beast had been unable to copy despite Mary having watched it attempt to do so. One of its canines had also broken off against Mary's iron body, but that tooth had fallen out and regrown larger at the cat's command, now giving its maw an off-balance look. The tiger's four tails lashed the air, its saber-toothed mouth pulled back to snarl as a growl rumbled within its throat. "I don't have a mother, you overgrown furball," the fairy replied, unsure if the animal could understand her language even if her inherent abilities from Chopper allowed her to understand it. She considered the possibility pretty high since the beast was intelligent enough to figure out and use both shave and moonwalk in the span of their fight, but there was still that non-zero chance since it had yet to properly respond to her. The mutant growled a growl with no translation before flashing toward her with claws bared. Mary jumped, flipping over the creature whilst interposing her basic, wooden hammers between them. It meant little, the mutant twisting unnaturally in an attempt to slash at her. Claws met hammers in a shower of splinters as the hammers shattered, but the fighters' opposite momentums carried them away from each other. The cat landed on its feet, as one might expect, while Mary used iron body to smash into the top of yet another unused machine, anchoring herself at the top. "Here, kitty kitty," Mary mocked, pulling one hand free to gesture for the cat to come at her. Is the big bad predator gonna let the poor little sheep show it up? Whether it was the words, the tone of voice, or the gesture, the tiger's eyes narrowed. It slumped toward the machine and lifted its front two paws up to dig its claws into the metal, apparently intending to savor its approach rather than take it quickly in the only way possible with moonwalk. Mary was thankful for the cat's choice. Though she did have more stamina than the average pirate, her stamina at its base was only as good as Luffy's during their attack on Enies lobby. Sure, it has risen some due to her own training, but she found herself breathing heavily as the tiger relished its climb, the Clawbotterman taking the moment to catch her breath. She blinked, a flash of green in the corner of her vision. At the same time, her crewmate's essence pinged in her mental senses. Coby, Cretaceous charge. Coby slammed into the tiger's side like a sea train, the beast letting out a cry of pain and shock as the force ripped its claws from the metal. The tiger recovered, trying to kick the air with moonwalk while twisting its spine in ways that it shouldn't to scratch at Coby. The zone's momentum made the former useless and the clawing was kept at bay by Coby's hard scales. "Coby," Mary yelled, tracking his current path with her eyes. "Watch out, you're..." Unable to see through the blue tiger, Coby slammed it and himself into the wall. The cat released a strangled cry as its body was compressed between the wall and the dinosaur human. Coby's horns dug into the flesh of its side, drawing blood but doing only superficial damage. This impact was not, unfortunately, totally in the pirate's favor. Coby had not been expecting the wall to be so close, the crash knocking him silly. He and the tiger rebounded from the wall, both rolling over the floor as they tried to deal with their newest aches and pains. "Coby," Mary called. "Are you alright? That wasn't my best plan," the zone replied, one eye squinted as he climbed to his feet. Mary landed beside him as the rosette shrunk into his human mode. The Clawbotterman pulled one of Coby's arms over her shoulder and pulled him up so the pair could stare down the tiger. "Thanks, Mary. I guess you took care of that deer, then? Let's just say it's not so bouncy anymore," he replied. "More importantly, what are we gonna do about this thing without our weapons? That deer almost had me when it would have been so easy with my swords." "Well, it's 2-on-1 now, so we have the advantage. Attack from both sides? Sounds like the best plan." Coby shot to the right, Mary mirroring him as she moved to the left. The tiger growled, its eyes quickly darting between the human and the klabauterman. Apparently making a decision, it turned and shot toward Coby, using its own shape to appear in his face. Coby's eyes widened, the young man raising his arms up in a cross block. He'd foreseen the attack with his observation, but the speed of the attack itself had given him no time to plan a retaliation. Such might not have been possible as the force behind the attack knocked him off his feet, the russet trying to skid to a stop before slamming into dusty machinery. "Don't take your eyes off me," Mary yelled, blurring into view over the tiger with her leg already in motion, falling anchor. The tiger's back bent unnaturally, the creature nearly folding in half with only its two center legs keeping its stomach from hitting the floor. Its eyes swung upward to glare at the klabauterman before arching its back upward toward her. The hair there bristled as cat's hair does, but Mary felt her own eyes widen as the hairs stabbed into and through her feet. "Son of a jabra," she cursed as the tiger arched downward again, dragging her with it by her punctured feet while it raised its other hackles to impale her from the front and back simultaneously. Tempest kick, Coby's foot slashed upward, carving a shallow line into the mutant's underbelly. It abandoned its Iron Maiden-esque attack in favor of swinging its front paws and protracted canines down on the male pirate. Coby would have none of that, the zone growing into his armor mode to catch the paws. The tiger's fangs ground against the bone plating of his shoulders, the pirate now faced a muzzle with the creature. "Mary, bring its head down, you sure? Just do it. This is gonna hurt." Mary pulled her feet free with a spray of essence, using moonwalk to climb into the air. "Alright, here we go. Iron Body Tailstone Special. Stone Smackdown. Slasher mode." Coby yelled as if in response. His arms turned slimmer, losing the musculature needed to hold the paws in place. The horn from his nose also grew upward, long and thin, pointed directly at the tiger's face as it lost the support from his hold and felt Mary's full weight crash into its cranium. The pirates had miscalculated, however. While Coby's needle-like horn pierced through the mutant's jaw and up through its muzzle, he missed his true target of the brain. The beast roared in pain and twisted, snapping Coby's horn from his face. The Rosset could barely get out a gasp of pain before the tiger's latter half came around, checking him with enough force to send him careening backward. Mary, too, was thrown from her spot on its head, crashing into the flooring beside her crewmate. "Mother bastard shit ass inbred celestial lizard bitch," on the ground as he cradled his broken stump of a horn. "Fuck. This is karma for breaking the deer's antlers, isn't it? You're just full of ideas and vocabulary today, Coby," Mary muttered. "I don't want to hear it," the man groused, shifting into his basic hybrid mode. Though the pain was lessened now, his third horn was still broken even in his new form. "That'll grow back, right? Eventually. That doesn't mean it's not a pain in the ass." "You mean a pain in the face. Not the goddamn time, Mary." The tiger growled, shifting its jaw in an attempt to get the needle horn dislodged. In doing so, the beast managed to open its mouth and, essentially, gained a new horn, albeit one incredibly painful and likely to break. It turned cold eyes on the pirates. Red blood carving rivulets down its muzzle and throat or simply dripping to the floor. "So, Coby," Mary muttered. "It sounded like you and Uncle Usopp have seen this thing before. Any idea how to deal with it?" "We ran away from the last giant, blue, six-legged tiger we saw," the zone admitted. "Left it surrounded by tiny, suicidal bulls that could turn themselves into missiles." "I love the grand line," the klabauterman sighed. "Raw!" The giant cat roared, pounding toward them with its new horn lowered to skewer them. It blurred, using shave in the hopes of catching the pirates before they could react. Unfortunately, both of said pirates also knew shave, activating it themselves and jumping in opposite directions. Coby moved erratically, trying to confuse the cat as he grew into his slasher mode and spun, his barbed tail lashing out toward it. "Needle twister. Cross-sail typhoon," Mary called from the other side, a horde of X-shaped tempest kicks converging on the cat from different angles. It growled before diving forward, curling into a ball so its sharp fur would take most of the damage. It mitigated some of it, but each slash of kick or tail left a long, shallow wound that did more to hurt than actually impair. The pirates would not be dissuaded when they were so close to finishing the fight, however. Coby jumped over the tiger, shifting into his armor mode and curling into a ball of his own, this one of bone rather than hard fur. With its face covered for protection, the tiger had no way of seeing the attack until the Rosset landed. His weight compressed the tiger, forcing it to uncurl as the feline coughed up a bloody hairball, dislodging Coby's broken horn from the top of its muzzle in the process. He rolled, exposing the mutant's stomach to the air as Mary placed herself above it. Coby unrolled himself, using his hands and feet to hold the tiger's front fore open while the plating of his head and face kept the cat's teeth at bay. "Do it, Mary." Stone smackdown. Again, the feline compressed, but the force was too much for it to deal with. It hacked up another bloody cough, this one mixed with foam, all over Coby before its eyes rolled back. It slumped like a boneless toy, giving the pirates a chance to catch their breaths. Coby shrunk into his human mode and turned. Offering the face-up Mary a hand, she smacked his palm with a smile. That, she panted, was awesome. The cat seemed to deflate a little, its body and fur taking on the same structural integrity of a waterbed with a nice blanket. I mean, did you see that? I love my life. I will never understand you battle maniacs, the young man muttered, trying and failing to get the bloody foam off his coat. Ew. It's all about the adrenaline. Whatever, do you think Usopp and Robin want our help? In the distance, Usopp screamed. I'll take that as a yes. Go to damn it, Kaku hissed, holding his shoulder as blood leaked through his fingers. The fabric of his suit and coat's right-hand shoulders had been sheared away along with the skin beneath, exposing muscle and blood to the outside air. Kinemon balanced himself to Kaku's left, one hand holding his upper body up while the other held his primary katana parallel to the floor. His eyes were narrowed, studying this foe the pair had found. This is your fault. Nami's gonna berate me cause you were too slow and we lost Velo and Ace. Oh, my apologies, Kinemon muttered with a roll of his eyes. Why do you not try moving without your legs? Both fighters moved backward, a blade slicing through the air where they'd been, high enough to have cut Kaku at the waist and take off Kinemon's head. The long-nosed Zone and the half-samurai grit their teeth as they glared at the creature that had done the aforementioned damage to Kaku. Rather than either party having found the other, it was more accurate to say Velo had led the Knot Pirates to this place and released the creature upon her passing, leaving it in the way of her pursuers. It looked like it was originally a wolf of some kind, but drugs or selective breeding had resulted in the canine now standing at 10 feet in height, large enough to be a threat but small enough to still fit in the hallways to chase them. It was mostly blue in color with a white underbelly, but said fur was rather difficult to see behind the hardened chest fur of gold and red shaped almost like a shield. It held a sword sized for the grip to fit in its mouth, or at least it looked like a sword, but closer inspection revealed the weapon to actually be the creature's tongue that had hardened into a sharpened blade as long as the creature's torso. What manner of yokai is this? Kinemon demanded, springing backward for lack of legs to jump with as the wolf charged in, its sword tongue cleaving the floor. The bisected swordsman flipped, rushing the creature as best he could on one hand. Said rush was pretty fast, all things considered. Perish, foul demon. RRRR, the canine growled, catching the blade with its own. Since Kinemon did not have legs, he could not plant his feet to maintain force, allowing the monster the chance to throw him with a swing of its head. The samurai backflipped, ready to defend himself should the need arise. As it turned out, that was unnecessary, the beast's attention being diverted by Kaku charging in toward its side. Tempest kick. The ex-assassin yelled, a slash of air launching point blank into the wolf's side. The Velo's creation let out a grunt as the force pushed it sideways, its paws skidding over the floor. Kaku had spent years honing his use of the technique, his favorite of all the 6 powers, into a fine blade that could cut through even Westerian oak cleanly with only a move, but his attack did little more than ruffle the wolf's fur. It spun, forcing Kaku to bend backward with paper art, the sword tongue coming within inches of his nose. He flipped backward with the momentum, landing on his feet. Good golly, what's this thing made of? And, I wish I had my swords. Hey, give me that one you aren't using. I cannot, the samurai grunted. To relinquish one of my blades to you, even as an ally, would serve to dishonor me further. We're literally fighting for our lives. I worry more what magic this creature possesses, Kinemon commented, ignoring Kaku's demands. To form a blade out of one's body parts is unthinkable. You ain't been out on the Grand Line long, have you? The long-nosed man questioned, trying to dig at the man for his stubbornness. I will admit I know little of the world, but what part of my ignorance of this creature's abilities makes you question my knowledge of the world? Well, I don't want you to start bugging when you see this. Before Kinemon's eyes, Kaku began to grow, his skin taking on a yellow color with brown spots. The Tagalong's neck stretched and rounded horns rose from his head. Kaku settled into a fighting stance in his full man-beast form. You are, in Terabang. Kinemon's gasp was overpowered by a howl from the wolf, the creature lunging forward. Kaku spun, swinging his own head like a hammer under the creature's tongue blade to smash into the wolf's shoulder. The wolf showed no sign of damage, but the force redirected its momentum to the side. The creature's eyes widened as its front paws moved S-body twisting. The floor rose to meet the wolf's jaw, the mutant letting out a pained yip as its sharp teeth bit into the fleshy part of its sword tongue. Take that, you filthy mutt. Kaku laughed. I'll show you the overwhelming power of the giraffe. You fiend. Kinemon yelled, Kaku turning to see the man's sword on a path toward his long neck. The ex-agent ducked, shifting into his man form to dodge the attack. You must be a spy for that man. Spy? Kaku demanded. I ain't a spy anymore, I left that hootenanny behind years ago. So you are a spy. Kinemon spun, his blade forcing Kaku backward lest he feel its edge. What is your ultimate goal? Are you here to recruit these pirates for your master? Perhaps ensure Momonosuke and I never return to Wano. What? No. Stop attacking me, you moron. Kaku backflipped, lashing out with twin tempest kicks. Kinemon deflected one while the other was bisected by the beast. See this? This is buggin'. I'm not your enemy here. I can believe nothing you say when your powers are identical to those oppressing my home. It is no wonder you wished for one of my swords.
I'm just a zone and a swordsman. He moved, flowing around a swing from the wolf with paper art. One eye stayed there, making sure none of the mutants' attacks made contact, while the other ensured Kinemon would do nothing while his back was turned. Damn it, samurai. Even if I was, we have bigger things to worry about right now.
My fear of this creature is minimal compared to the threat of your master and the pain he has caused me and mine. The swordsman of Wano growled, his grip on his sword so tight that his knuckles were white and the weapon shook. Where'd I had my legs? I would cut you and this wolf down where you now stand in one slash. I'm not a spy, you idiot. Take a chill pill for a sec and listen to me. I have no ear for any of your honeyed words, pirate.
Frickin' closed off Narbos, Kaku grumbled to himself. He kicked upward with moonwalk, reaching the ceiling quickly before using finger pistol to anchor himself in place.
You coward. Regress and fight me. Why should I? Besides, if you're so confident, you've already got an opponent willing to fight you down there. RRRRR, the wolf growled as if in response, swinging its sword tongue around. Kinemon brought his katana up, parrying the he didn't know what to call it. The fingers of his balancing hand dug into the floor, warping the metal beneath him to hold himself in place. The muscles in Kinemon's arms bulged, holding Velo's creation at a stalemate as his lips pulled back to scowl. Tempest kick storm. From his place perched by the ceiling, Kaku rained down a storm of tempest kicks that pelted the wolf's back. They, like all the ones before, did not cut into the beast's flesh, but they did serve to distract it long enough for Kinemon to disengage. The wolf turned a narrowing eye on Kaku. Did you hope to catch me in that flurry of blows? Kinemon demanded. I am one of the red scabbards, spy. I will not fall to such a simple trick. I wasn't aiming for you, dumbass, I'm trying to help. I need not your help, pirate. Look out. Kinemon pushed up in the approximation of a jump. A swing from the wolf's sword tongue passing under him. Kaku dislodged himself from the ceiling and fell, spinning forward as he grew into his man-beast form. His muscles tightened as the ex-agent locked his body into place, falling toward the mutant. Iron body. Giraffe hammer. His square muzzle slammed into the top of the wolf's skull, forcing it downward. The canine's sharp teeth bit through its tongue completely, the mutant releasing a howl of pain as its main weapon was severed. I have you now, Kinemon yelled, both his hands on his sword as he fell toward both Kaku and the wolf. Fire sparked before surrounding his katana in red and orange. You're in my way, canine. My fight will not end here. Not in a place far from home and away from Momonosuke. I will cut you down, be gone, both of you, foxfire style. Flaming flash. Shit. Kaku bit out, vanishing with a combination of shave and moonwalk. The wolf did not have such a luxury, the burning sword cutting into and through its upper body like water. The attack had such force that it also carved a molten line into the floor under the beast. What the what? Kaku blinked, since when could you do that in Terabang? You need not learn such information, Kinemon replied, pointing his sword at the zone. His visage would be much more imposing if he were not still severed at the waist. You will be the next to taste my steel, preventing any information you have from reaching your cruel master. For the love of, I don't have a master. Look. Kaku raised his arms in surrender and shrunk back into his man form. I used to work for the world government, raised from childhood to be one of their personal assassins, but I booked it on that life 2 years ago. I've done a lot of shit I'm not proud of, but I don't have a clue about whatever Clydesdale has your brain on the fritz, okay? I might have been a spy, but not for your enemy. Once a spy, always, Kinemon spat. One does not simply lead the life they learned in childhood. Perhaps you are not a member of their army, but I cannot take that chance. I will. The hell? A voice questioned, both Kaku and Kinemon turning toward the doorway where Nami and rest of the group had finally caught up to them. The young mother stood at the lead, her hands fisting at her sides. What is going on here? Where's my son? The two men glanced at each other, sweat running down their brows. As one, they pointed at each other and, very maturely, stated, it's his fault. The laboratory shook, the men garbed in yellow looking around with an air of wariness. It was not uncommon for the lab to shake, some of the master's experiments and a fair number of velos being the most common cause of such. But this time did not seem like something they were used to. The last time the lab had shaken like this was the escape of a monstrous, barrel-throwing gorilla Velo had made, the unfortunate animal having met its ultimate fate in the jaws of the Red Dragon in the Burning Lands. That time had not, however, come with a repetitive clanking from somewhere below them, and they had been forewarned to the possibility of its escape and the subsequent threat of death by barrel. This was not like that time, the men slowly congregating around a chute that went to the garbage. Bang, one of the men muttered, turning slightly to his companions. I'm not the only one hearing that, right?
Bang. And no, another man stuttered, this one shorter than most of the rest. I hear it, too.
Bang, what could it be? A third worker questioned. Bang, it's coming from here, the second muttered, inching toward the chute. He raised his rifle, readying his weapon for whatever would come, even if he was shaking so badly that the barrel would not stay steady. Bang, hey, Strand. Go check the chute. Why the hell does it have to be me? The one called Strand demanded. You do it? Bang, because I'm older and I've been here longer, so that means I get to tell you what to do. But, bang, make Goliger do it, he's the youngest of us. What in Terabang, why me? No way, Goliger's funny, you do it. Bang bang, I don't want to, you ass. With a hulking crash, the pipe before them all but exploded, throwing dust and other particulates into the air as an obscuring cloud of brown and gray. The workers staggered backward, trying to stay out of the cloud so they could maintain their vision. The cloud stayed thick for several seconds more before it began to clear, a shadow forming in the dust. The workers readied their weapons. I identify yourself. Goliger squeaked. The figure remained silent as the cloud cleared, their form revealing itself through the obscuration. There Luffy stood, eyes shaded, with Momonosuke wrapped around his shoulders like a shawl. He was loaded down with all the weapons of his previously captured crewmates, all of them held tightly taut pieces of rope and cloth. Under one arm were Kinemon's legs. All was silent for a moment. Man, Luffy laughed, looking up with a smile. That was harder than it needed to be. I dropped weapons and had to go back for them so many times. Momo, you should have just flown down and gotten them for me. I cannot fly, you buffoon, the pink dragon yelled, raising his head to glare at the behatted pirate. We have been over this. It would be a lot cooler if you did, the pirate grumbled. That is not a power I possess, and my name is Momonosuke. Then just find a way to do it, Luffy shrugged. Sanji and Mary couldn't fly before, but now they know how to kick off the air like the CP9 guys we fought a long time ago, so they can fly now. You just gotta learn the same thing, and it should be easier for you since you're a dragon. Though I could understand the individual works you spoke, when put together they mean less than nothing to me. Talk of people I do not know will not motivate me to do the impossible. You don't understand what I'm saying? Luffy blinked. Oh, I get it, you can't fly cause you're stupid. I am not, poot. Have we escaped? The legs questioned. I sense we have stopped moving yet are not falling once more. I identify yourselves, Goliger repeated, a little louder. Gia, Momonosuke squeaked. They have weapons pointed at us. Oh, Luffy blinked, dropping Kinemon's legs. They hit the floor with a small poot. You think they're a threat?
Oh, of course. Gum dual-loaded pistols. Luffy plucked Jin's tonfa from his belt and gripped their weights rather than the handles, slamming them into the two guys on either side of Goliger. The smallest and youngest worker let out a sound like a wheeze, almost visibly deflating. Luffy tucked the tonfa into his belt and snatched up the legs again. He walked forward, Goliger shrinking in on himself as the pirate got closer. Now, the captain said, his smile turning sinister. I've got a question for you. F for me? Goliger questioned. Yeah, you. Luffy nodded. He leaned in, his free hand grabbing the front of the worker's outfit and dragging him close. Where the hell is my crew? The centaurs moved quickly but carefully, watching where they put their hooves with one eye while the other tracked the skies and surroundings for any dangers that might come after them. Their primary fear was the dragon, the red creature perfectly camouflaged for the burning landscape. Even if they hadn't heard any of the great lizard's roars, they knew other dangers scuttled about the flames, various creatures that escaped from Velo's lab over the last couple years and had made new homes here. All it took was watching one fellow guard get devoured by fire mice to make one wary of every flaming doorway. The centaur in the lead of this group, the tallest among them with a fedora and the lower body of a palomino, inched around a corner to make sure nothing moved nearby without their knowledge. He gestured after a few seconds, his subordinates shuffling to him as they made their way to the bend. Hey, Cap, one of them questioned, the man walking on the legs of a chestnut stallion. You gonna tell us why you're dragging us out here? You know, other than master's orders. What more information do you need? Cap replied, raising his rifle to take aim at a window above. An ash-colored bird screeched at them and dove their direction, only to get blown to pieces as the centaur pulled the trigger. Friggin' bitch, another centaur muttered to himself, this one with the horse body of a black Appaloosa. That crazy woman made things to guard this area but didn't key us into it. It's like Velo wants us to die. That's my point, the chestnut insisted. The hell does the master want us to do out here near the door? He wants us to open the door, Rig, the leader said. Apparently the pirates and marines are teaming up against the master and are overwhelming the defenses. They won't listen to reason. They don't understand master's benevolence, so we need to break out the big stuff to keep the master safe and drive them into a trap. And what are the details here for this trap? Rig asked. I mean, we had to carry a sleigh of fruit to the edge of the frozen lands, a giant piece of candy to the burning lands, and now we're trudging through Velo's murder birds to open the Godottom door. Look, I'm just doing what the master told us to, Cap growled. Whatever he locked behind the door must be powerful enough to beat all the pirates and marines. We'll release it before running back to the base. I do not want to be in the way of whatever it is Master wants us to release.
Rig shifted, blowing another murder bird to feathers and giblets. He, Cap, and Marv eyed the surroundings warily, the rooftop's edges hosting a gathering of the gray birds. Marv swallowed audibly. Can we get this over with? He demanded. It's too hot over here and I think that one wants to peck my eyes out. Which one, Marv? That one. He gestured with his rifle, pointing at an ash-gray bird with a slightly longer beak than the others. It tilted its head. These things are giving me the willies. That one specifically.
Then shoot it. And what? Have Bello on my horsey ass about it. Not until I can claim self-defense. She's set up cameras, you know.
She has not. I don't know, Cap muttered. She's crazy about her creatures. I wouldn't be surprised if she did set up cameras. Can we just get this mission over with already? Rig demanded. I'd rather hedge my bets against the pirates than stay around these things a moment longer than needed. Yeah. Come on. The murder birds did nothing but watch as the trio of centaurs clomped down the street toward the massive, steel door at the end. The lack of action would have been underwhelming if it wasn't for the constant fear of their luck turning for the worst. Cap, Rig, and Marv shuffled their feet, the latter two eyeing the birds. Alright, Cap swallowed. His rifle shook in his hold before he holstered it on his back. Alright, I'm gonna open the door, watch my back. Right. Cap twiddled his fingers, sweat rolling down his brow. Swallowing again, he reached up and grabbed the massive wheel lock. As one, every bird in the area looked up and screeched, all three centaurs jumping at the sound. Hurry it up, Marv insisted. I'm trying, Cap replied. Help me, keep watch, Marv, Rig ordered, joining their current leader. Both struggled, their muscles straining until, with a groan, the wheel lock shifted. Air depressurized as the door creaked open, a beam of light cutting into the darkness and landing on something purple at the far end. None of the centaurs could see this, however, as the birds stopped their screeching and dove. Marv fired a bullet into the horde, taking one out, but the swarm easily overpowered it. Marv screamed as dozens of beaks punctured his skin. The murder birds living up to the name the centaurs had given them as they ripped the horseman to pieces. Run! Cap cried, pushing Rig out of his way and booking it to the left. Cap! Rig yelled from the ground. He tried to get back on his hooves only for the murder birds, finished with Marv, to pounce on him like a wave of red and gray. Cap, help me, cop. Gotta get away. Gotta get away. Gotta get away. The lone remaining centaur chanted as Rig's screams died away. Perhaps, if he left the area fast enough, his friend's sacrifices would ensure his own survival. Why Velo ever made such horrid creatures, he would never know, and he would be sure to question her about it once he was back across the lake. And a beak stabbed through one of his hind legs. Cap went down with a cry, twisting around as he grabbed for his rifle. A bird with a long beak, the same one Marv had pointed out before, stared at him with beady, red eyes. There was a spark of intelligence there, the bird tilting its head at him. Cap dared not to breathe, praying these avian killers would let him go if he didn't move. They did all of this on the cameras that Velo had suggested installing, not a shred of remorse or sadness for the loss of his subordinates' lives. They, like everyone else, were disposable for his own ends, and he got to study how much more vicious this new generation of birds was compared to the last. Yes, such clever birds would be another bestseller on the black market. Joker would surely want them, among other buyers willing to pay top dollar for such a subtle defense force. The scientist grinned. The idiots had achieved their mission, so the pirates and marines would not be a threat for much longer. All according to plan. I can't believe you lost her. Nami raged, both Kaku and Kinnaman bowing before her.
Their bodies shook as she growled, glaring down at the backs of their heads.
Kinnaman had gone so far as to pull his swords from his sash and place them behind him, a sign of respect and or submission the others were not familiar with. Both men had large bumps growing out of their hair, Kaku's usual baseball cap hanging from his. If Velo does something to my boy, I swear to whatever deities you believe in that I will cook you both alive with a homemade dessert before flash freezing your near-dead corpses to leave you in perpetual pain for as long as the cryogenics last. You will watch time immemorial pass you by as you stand frozen in time, unable to act for the rest of your unnatural lives only to have your misery end the moment you're warm enough to move. Am I clear, Interrobang? Why yes. I think I am starting to understand the dynamics of your ship, Smoker commented as he, Tashigi, Jin, and Sanji watched the chastising play out. Is Straw Hat the true captain? It's really not that complicated, Sanji said, breathing out a cloud of smoke. Luffy really is our captain. He's the one who brought us all together and is why we're on the sea in the first place. Without Luffy, the Straw Hat Pirates wouldn't exist. And that's if we'd even be alive if it wasn't for Don Luffy, Jin put in. He saved us all one way or another. Can you do something about your grammar? Tashigi muttered. Excuse me, this is just how my folks talk. Wait, saved you? The woman blinked. Him? How could a pirate, much less Straw Hat, possibly save anyone? The same way anyone else does, Sanji breathed. By answering a cry for help, whether you know your calling or not, though I can understand why you might hesitate with Luffy. We all know he's not the brightest, but that means he can sense what others miss, what all of us needed. Then explain it to us, Smoker grunted. Currently, we are not arresting you because we cannot afford weakening ourselves while Velo and whomever she serves is at large. But we are still Marines and will have to explain to our superiors why or how you all get away from us should you escape this island. It almost sounds like you're looking for an excuse to let us go. Of course we aren't, Tashigi hissed. As Marines, we.
There is always a non-zero chance you all escape, Smoker interrupted. Both your captain and your crew as a whole have defied the odds before. Another time would not be out of the question.
Sanji and Jin gave the man a sideways look, the latter chuckling to himself at the gobsmacked expression on the Marine captain's face. So you're asking for why we've each sworn loyalty to our captain, Jin surmised, is that it? I suppose so, yes, Smoker admitted. Why? The cat burglar admitted that she became a pirate to map the world, but he trailed off as he studied the pirates' faces. Sanji had turned away, a hand hiding his mouth, while Jin's lips were pressed into a thin line. Is that not true? That's Donna's dream, Jin clarified. It ain't why she joined Straw Hat Pirates. Then why did she? Tashigi demanded. Skills like hers could have revolutionized marine travel had she joined the Navigation Corps. She joined us because we broke her cage, Sanji supplied. Well, Don Luffy did, anyway, Jin commented. Broke her cage? The Marine parroted. The fishman pirate Arlong invaded Nami's home island when she was just a little girl, Sanji began. They took over with little resistance and started extorting the people. Anyone who couldn't pay lost their lives. For Nami's foster mother, it was either her or her daughters, and she made her choice. The color drained from Tashigi's face as she listened, but she dared not interrupt lest the chef stop. They found Nami's first maps and decided that they would need her skills to take over the East Blue. She made a deal with them that she would work for the Arlong pirates as a thief and mapmaker until she could buy back her village to the tune of 100 million barras. She was 10. 8 years did Donna struggle before she started getting close. Jin picked up. Not once did Marines come close Arlong Park. And then she met Don Luffy, Zoro, and Coby. She took off just before Sanji and I joined in. We took off after her. Arlong tried stab her in the back help Captain Nezumi, a Marine he was paying off. He tried steal Donna's money and shot Coby in process. Yeah, that was a day. Well, you are not lying to us, Smoker commented, crossing his arms. Your story corroborates both Trihorn's testimony and the findings of our internal investigation. I will have you know former Captain Nezumi failed a surprise audit of Marine Branch 16, giving us the legal suspicion needed to start a formal investigation after our talk with Trihorn 2 years ago. Not that we mentioned the source of our information. Last I heard, they were preparing a special cell for him in Impelled Down and investigating all the individuals he arrested over the years. So far, at least 3 were taken into custody under false charges. I'm sure both Nami and Coby will be glad to hear it, Sanji grinned. I'd lump the Mosshead and Luffy into that. But that stupid Swordbrain won't care and Luffy probably doesn't even remember him. Doesn't? Tashigi echoed. That was apparently a major event to his wife. How could Straw Hat not remember such a man? Wasn't our top priority at the time. The blonde waved off. Now, Luffy will remember Arlong and most of the afterparty no problem, but he doesn't care so much about the details. Arlong made Nami cry and the party made her smile. That's what mattered to Luffy. He does whatever he wants and we're dragged along for the ride because he's our captain. That's all there is to it. So this lack of care for the details, Smoker said. That is why Straw Hat did not take his grandfather's suggestion and join the Marines. Thinking about it, yeah, probably, Jin shrugged. You Marines gotta go where you're told and do paperwork and all that. Can't exactly see Don Luffy settling into that life. He wants go where he'll go and answer no one. Well, except the Donna, but I don't think he planned on that happening. He don't really plan on anything. Alright, stop wasting time, Nami yelled, rounding on the talking quartet. We have a child, my child, to find and a mad scientist to beat the shit out of. Pardon my intrusion, a voice said, everyone in the room spinning to see the man had appeared out of thin air by the wall. It sounds like you have trouble with Velo, but she is not in possession of the air of chaos anymore. Tashigi gasped. If you will make a deal with me, I can take you right to him. Coby shrunk into his human mode and turned, offering the face-up Mary a hand. She smacked his palm with a smile. That, she panted, was awesome. I mean, did you see that? I love my life. I will never understand you battle maniacs, the young man muttered, trying and failing to get the bloody foam off his coat. Ew. It's all about the adrenaline. Whatever, do you think Usopp and Robin want our help? In the distance, Usopp screamed. I'll take that as a yes. The hell is this thing in Terabang? Usopp cried as a blast of fire melted another inert machine to his right. He dove the opposite way, hiding behind a half-dissolved husk. He threw a seed into the distance where a glowing sunflower sprouted, the dragon spinning around to dive toward it, attracted by the light, but Usopp knew he'd only bought them limited time. The sniper dropped his voice to a whisper. Acid, fire, green blood, super hard scales. What else can this thing do in Terabang? Do you wish to hear my hypotheses? Robin inquired with a whisper. The archaeologist crouched behind a different piece of scrap. Her third arm, bloomed from her side, held the dragon egg they'd taken from the red dragon of the burning lands snugly against her stomach, considering. That was rhetorical Anra AWW. The dragon yelled, tearing the sunflower from its stem before chewing its flower to bio-illuminated mush between its razor teeth. What are we gonna do? Usopp questioned. Robin opened her mouth. And I don't mean defeat it in general. I mean, what are we gonna do right now before it tracks us down with its super smell or whatever and melts us into puddles or burns us alive? Well, we have previously agreed that surrendering the egg and offering is not a valid plan, Robin commented. I'm starting to rethink that, the sniper muttered under his breath. Robin closed her eyes and crossed her arms, eyes blooming across the walls of the room. It appears both Coby and Mary have concluded their battles, so they should arrive and come to our aid forthwith. Within moments, presumably. Thank Goda, Usopp muttered, his body relaxing as if his bones had been removed. 4-on-1 are much better odds against an acid, fire dragon. Then we are convinced terminating the dragon is our best course of action? Usopp straightened. Please don't tell me you want to try to keep it, he demanded. The man waited a moment, but she did not reply. Robin, I swear. I have a weakness for cute things, she admitted. That thing is not cute, he insisted, pointing a finger in the general direction of the beast angrily chewing on the sunflower. It continued to glow despite being pulverized, causing the dragon's stomach to glow from the inside. In fact, it is big, scary, and wants to kill us, again. Robin did not say anything in the following pause. Usopp felt his eyes droop. All those things classify as cute to you, don't they? Not everything that wishes to kill us is cute, Robin defended. I notice you didn't say anything against big or scary. Robin blinked. No wonder you have your eye on Zoro, Usopp sighed, dragging a hand down his face. Big, strong, and stupid is just your type. I bet you think he's cute too, don't you? The long-nosed man questioned, moving his fingers to give air quotes around the word cute. Such allegations do not require nor deserve any manner of response. We are here to help, Mary announced, she and Coby appearing out of a shave before their crewmates. What's the situation? We've got an angry dragon that wants the egg on our tail and Robin has the bright idea that it's cute like Zoro. As one, Coby and Mary turned to study Robin who, for once, had the decency to blush under the scrutiny. She crossed her arms and turned away from them. It's the green, Coby said. Definitely the green, Mary agreed. I will not tolerate this slander of whatever preferences you perceive me to possess, Robin commented.
Such perceived preferences are, for the record, completely baseless and possessing no factual basis. Rather, and decidedly more important than whatever perceived preferences you assume, I believe we currently find ourselves locked in combat with a mutual foe wishing to disembowel the lot of us before feasting on our innards in the most gruesome of manners, be us alive or dead for the process of, feasting. She's repeating words, Mary Stage whispered to the pink-haired zone. We've finally thrown her off her groove. Arms bloomed from both Coby and Mary's bodies, one each clamping down over their mouths while the others reached for sensitive or vital points of their upper bodies.
Are you finished? Robin questioned, an evil gleam in her eye, or do I need to punish you for disrespecting your elders?
MMMFF. Coby tried, pointing at something behind her.
Dragon. Usopp translated. Robin released her grip on Coby and Mary instantly, the four pirates dodging to either side as a blast of fire tore through the air where they'd been only a second before. Usopp spun, firing another skull bomb grass seed into the dragon's face, the exploding flora buying them a couple precious seconds. What can this thing do in Terabang? Coby questioned. Acid and fire, Usopp answered. It'll probably only use fire when it thinks it might hit the egg, Mary suggested. I'd explain but I don't think we have the time. Vinta Fleurs. Hold, Robin yelled, arms blooming from the dragon's back. They reached upward, grabbing hold of the lizard's wings. Said lizard screeched, feeling the resistance. It beat its wings, sweat beginning to drip down Robin's face as she strained to keep her bloomed arms in place. Armor mode. Coby charged forward as his body grew, the bone plating of his armor mode forming in totality save the usual face mask that was his central horn. That part did not grow except for a plate the size of his dinosauric nose. Come on, let's go, dragon to dragon.
Grew. Green bubbled from within the dragon's maw, Coby rolling to the side as a stream of the liquid sloshed over the metal flooring, sizzling and eating at its integrity. Coby spun, augmenting his forward momentum with a touch of shave to give his punch a little extra oomph, a plan that seemed to work when his bone-plated fast caused the dragon's cheek to distort.
The dragon spun, careening away from its intended path. Its body whipped around, smacking Coby with its tail. The zone coughed as the air in his lungs was forcefully expelled and his feet left the floor. He was tough, however, so Mary didn't worry that the unexpected flight would injure him. "This thing is nothing compared to the last one," Mary laughed, kicking through the air with moonwalk. "Watch out, Robin. Here comes my cross-sailed typhoon." Robin released her ballooned arms as Mary's X-shaped kicks converged on the beast. It roared as the sharpened air pelted it, the creature folding in on itself until the barrage subsided. "That should do it." "No, it didn't," Usopp warned as the dragon uncoiled. "Only superficial damage to its scales as proof of Mary's attack." Green star. Bamboo javelin. Usopp threw the seed in his hand, a web of bamboo roots growing under the dragon. It let out a roar and took to the air, outpacing the growing plants. It flipped in the air before Mary's white hair caught its eye. With a burst of speed, it appeared before the Klabouterman, its mouth and jagged teeth open to swallow her. "Mary!" Usopp yelled as the dragon's mouth closed around her. The ship spirit gasped and interposed her hands, the sharp teeth biting into her currently corporeal flesh. "Og!" Mary cried out as red essence sprayed, her eyes screwing shut as pain assaulted her. Sure, she was used to dealing with all manner of pain considering how recklessly she could fight with her healing factor, but little she had experienced could compare to the bite of acid-covered dragon teeth. An orange glow began to emanate from the dragon's throat. "It's going to breath fire," Robin warned. "Mary, dematerialize." "Ket," the Klabouterman grunted. "It'll crush my heart if I do that." Green star. Rafflesia. A plant bloomed inside the dragon's maw, releasing a horrid stench that nearly made Mary gag. Its effect on the dragon was far more pronounced, the lizard instantly losing its grip on Mary as it began to twist and contort in the air, retching and hacking in its attempt to dislodge the putrid plant. Mary hit the ground hard, the horned girl panting as her spiritual manifestation began to knit itself back together. "That's what you get when you try to fry Mary, you overgrown lizard," Usopp yelled. His smirk fell as that orange glow became a bust of fire, burning the Rafflesia to ash. "Aw, come on." "Usopp," Robin muttered as Coby blurred into view atop the dragon, his own broken horn in hand. "I believe I have a valid strategy." "One horn style," Coby said from atop the dragon, holding his broken needle-like horn like a sword. "Broken heaven." With a single move, Coby severed one of the wings of the dragon at the base. It screeched as it tipped, both monster and zone falling out of the air. The dragon twisted as they did, biting at the pink-haired young man only for the zone to keep it at bay with his horn. They hit the ground hard, shaking the structure. "Shit," Coby cursed, shuffling backward. Mary shaved in, grabbed the arms and pulling him away from the dragon's maw. "You sure this will work, Robin?" Usopp questioned, his hands tightening around his weapons of choice. "It succeeded previously," the archaeologist replied, shifting her aim slightly. "Simply hope I do not miscalculate." "That just fills me with confidence," the sniper grumbled. "Do you wish to conclude this conflict or not? Fine, let's do this." Usopp lowered his goggles, his knuckles turning white. Ahead of the pair, the dragon scuttled after Mary and Coby, its body off balance due to the loss of its wing. Robin reared back her ballooned hands. "Cientos fluers," Usopp and Robin yelled in tandem, Tengu spear.
The massive hand Robin had created shot forward like a catapult, releasing its ammo. Said ammo screamed, white-knuckled grip holding sharpened bamboo straight. In moments, Usopp slammed into the dragon's side, one pole sinking into the lizard's glowing side while the other stabbed through the neck in a splash of green. The dragon hacked and wheezed, stumbling from the force, but there was little it could do with a spear of bamboo through its throat. Its flailing threw Usopp off, the long-nosed pirate landing hard on his back. The dragon crashed into two machines before it seemed to lose control of its motor functions and fell forward. Its eyes, wide and scared, looked upon the four pirates as they surrounded its head, but it only had eyes for the small, green orb Robin held against her torso. It gurgled something before closing its eyes and breathing its last. Coby kneeled, resting a hand on the dragon's snout. "Hey guys," he asked. "Are we the bad guys? That thing and its friends attacked us," Usopp pointed out. "I mean, if it wanted the egg, Coby, there is no clear morality to be found here," Robin said. "Usopp is correct. This dragon attacked us. Perhaps it did want the egg in our possession, but there is no guarantee handing it over would have concluded the fight. Only that little Ace-chan would be disappointed. It was sent here by someone, egg or no egg, and we responded in self-defense. Man, I just want to get back to Sunny and take a nice, warm bath," Mary whined. "These things ate up a lot of our time. Mrs. Nami and the others already took out whatever they were fighting and are a little closer to us, and they've already caught up to Kaku. We need to get going before something else crazy happens." "You got my vote," Usopp nodded. Coby shot a look back at the green dragon, offering his condolences, before turning away and following his crewmates toward the blips of light he could feel in his haki. Why, though, did he feel like he knew a few of those other lights? "Nothing we've tried has worked so far,"
Z Grace complained, running a hand through Zoro's green hair as music drifted through the air from outside. We're running out of ideas, and every time they wake up, it takes longer and longer to put them to sleep. Brooke and Sunny will have to maintain a full-blown concert at this rate. Damn! She threw her notepad, the bound paper hitting the wall before falling to the floor with a soft whump. We need to review everything logically, Chopper advised from his desk, the human reindeer standing on his swivel chair as he pored over all the notes he'd taken in his near-illegible shorthand. If we try to rush this, it will only cause us to make more mistakes, and each one is another chance we could end up hurting the kids. There has to be a way to reduce the drug's effects without harming them. We just have to find it. Wah, B. Zoro suggested. We are not getting them drunk, G. Billy yelped. They're underage. Wah, wah, wah. I don't care if the island doesn't have drinking laws, Angry Moss. And where would you even find enough alcohol to do that? Some of those kids have livers the size of your entire body. I could really use a drink right now, Z. Grace grumbled. Wah, I can't drink alcohol, Angry Moss, and you won't be for as long as you're in my body. Actually, most avian species have higher tolerances for alcohol than humans in a purely mass-to-consumption ratio, Chopper pointed out. Wait, that's not important right now. We need to get back on track. The children are a higher priority. Okay, but we haven't managed to counter anything, Z. Grace commented. In fact, everything we've tried has had no effect whatsoever, good or bad. I guess it's good that we haven't edged into the more dangerous chemicals yet, but we're getting there, and each one is a risk I can't fully understand without my powers. At best, it's looking like the only thing we can do is sedate them until we can get them to a facility that can handle their withdrawal symptoms, and that's not even without some risk. It's not like we can just make NHC-10 and give it to them. Wah, I don't want to hear it from you, Zoro, you're just here because I'm in your body. And because I don't want him to get lost in my body, G. Billy added. Actually, Chopper put in, a hoof on his chin, perhaps we can. I'm sorry, what in Terabang? Z. Grace demanded. Chopper, the hell are you thinking? Well, a lot of people suffer from nicotine addiction, he began. That's one of the main reasons a lot of people can't stop smoking even if they want to. One of the top medical procedures with a high rate of success is weaning people off nicotine by giving them smaller and smaller amounts until the withdrawal they feel is manageable. The children have survived with NHC-10 this long, so another dose is unlikely to harm them. Far less than the harm they might bring to themselves in their enraged states. Perhaps, in this case, it is better the devil we know than the devil we don't. Okay, but I come back to being unable to make NHC-10. Even with my powers, I've never tried to make it. Z. Grace blinked, unless. Well, Chopper muttered. Remember when I said that Doctrine was one of the few people in the world who was allowed to experiment with imidazine hydrocarbine? The others nodded. Well, she also taught me how to do everything she could. Everything I could do was one less thing she needed to. And she taught you how to make it, B. Grace deduced. Yeah, she did, Chopper nodded. Now, the process is really difficult. Everything has to be just right or it explodes. I assume the master can do it because he has a lab set up or some automatic machine. But we don't have those things, and Billy doesn't have the knowledge needed to make Grace's powers effective. That means I'll have to make it. Luckily, Drum Island was a winter island, so making it in the cold is exactly how I learned. Also makes it a little less explosive. It is a process though, and will take me at least an hour. Maybe more if I need to make more for the giant kids. I don't think that will be a problem, Z. Grace said. I did manage to get Billy to feel a rough reading for me. All the kids have similar levels of NHC-10 in their systems, so the larger ones just store it to facilitate their growth. At least, that's the running theory. They probably still get the same amount as the others. The master can't be so risky as to up the dosage on some of them just because of a slight success. Wah. The group turned to B. Zoro before turning to the duck in Grace's body for translation. The fowl in a female had gone a touch pale, pursing his borrowed lips together. He said, G. Billy began, that the master wouldn't unless this wasn't his first group of kids. The group paused to absorb that idea. Oh, fuck, Z. Grace swore. Billy, you're with me. I need to teach you the difference between amount and ratio. Chopper, get started on that hydrocarbide. Plan to need a lot of it. Zoro, Z. Grace paused. Take a nap or something, I guess. There's not really much else you can help with. Wah, B. Zoro stomped over, pulling Wado Ichimonji from its sheath with his beak before heading out the door. You better not stab my eye out. G. Billy yelled after him. He sighed, turning back to the green-haired body possessed by the soul of a chemist. Alright, girl makes colors. What's the difference, Bio? Monet, Velo yelled, her small feet stomping against the floor in ways that would be intimidating if she wasn't so small and, as a result, not all that heavy. Rather, her anger in such a small form looked more like the pouting of a child who had had their favorite doll removed from its proper place upon a shelf. This image was made a touch more intimidating, however, by the mouth of razor-sharp teeth she now sported and the way one of her eyes glowed red. A thin beam of light coming from said eye to sweep over the surroundings like a laser pointer. "Monet, get your dreadful, bird-legged ass out here right now." There was no response, but Velo knew she was getting close. Her savior and teacher had had many dreadful students before and throughout her tenure with him, but only she had endured his painful training to achieve the rank of liaison. Her own haki was weak, dreadful really, especially compared to any of their crew's main fighters. But it was there, and that was all the confirmation her teacher had needed to know her loyalty and strength of will, especially when it allowed her to counter all the experiments that killed the others. That haki, dreadful as it was, still allowed her to know when she was getting close to her query, but Monet was always a difficult one to pin down. Law was simple enough. He had a boiling rage in his gut that made his spirit easy to track. He was just dreadfully hard to stop since he could pop away with his devil fruit powers. Caesar was a little easier since he was usually in his lab, but interrupting his experiments made one liable to be the next one, so Velo tended to use her observation to know when to stay away from the master. Monet, however, was always a wild card. Velo never could get a full grasp on the harpy's mental state save that she was usually cold, something that never sat right with Velo considering the vedette's false, sunny, dreadful disposition. It had always caused friction between the two women, made worse by Monet's enjoyment at ribbing the small biologist. Monet. Something pinged in Velo's mind, the short scientist turning to an oft-untraveled corridor. It led to a storage area near Caesar's main quarters, though the gaseous man tended to use stimulants to keep himself awake and working through the night. He had expressly forbidden anyone, from his inner circle all the way down to the lowliest centaur, to enter his personal area. Despite this, Velo could feel Monet's presence nearby alongside that of one much stronger. It was a force the biologist had never felt here on the island, its strength comparable to several New World veterans she had previously met. Setting her jaw, Velo moved to the door and threw it open. Within stood Monet with a tall man dressed in a long, white coat with buzzed, black hair. The pair looked up from a table between them, said table hosting a number of cubes each containing a beating heart. Both Monet and the man each held one, but Velo could not read the identifiers on the table for the empty places. For her lack of hands, Monet had balanced herself on one clawed foot, the other holding the heart between her talons. One wrong move and the claws could slice the organ into pieces. "What is the meaning of this interrobang?" Velo demanded, pointing a sleeve-covered finger at the vedette. "Monet, I hear you gave permission to sick some of my experiments on the pirates, and now I find you here with an unknown man interrobang. I hope you have a good explanation for this, or the consequences will be dreadful. Dreadful, I say." "Ah, Velo," Monet began. "That is Dr. Velo to you. This is someone I think you should meet." The harpy gestured to the man, ignoring the biologist's words. "I would like you to meet Marine Vice Admiral Virgo. Virgo, this is Valerie Velo." "My name is Valori Velo, you bird-brained cow." Velo felt her nostrils flare, her eyes unconsciously roving over Monet's form. It simply wasn't fair that Velo could alter the forms of others, yet her own was so small in nearly every sense. It had never really bothered her until her size prevented her from showing her savior the full extent of her gratitude. Monet, a harpy in the literal and metaphorical meanings, just had to flaunt her dreadfully curved body like all those immodest geisha. At least the geisha wore more than a single foot of cloth. How you fly with so much dreadful fat hanging off your chest, I will never know. Perhaps the air in your head counters the weight? That would certainly explain your dreadful mem. Velo balked. "Wait, Marine interrobang. You're such a jokester, Velo," Monet giggled, using one of her wings to cover her mouth. The man looked at her and quirked an eyebrow. "I do so enjoy our petty squabbles, but I'm afraid I don't have time for it today." "Oh?" Velo questioned. "Are you finally taking wing and removing your dreadful presence from the island, turning code for the Marines?" "I wouldn't put it that way, but yes." Velo's eyes narrowed at the pep in Monet's tone. Her spirit showed no deceit. Rather, she seemed genuinely happy for the first time since Velo had met her a little over a year ago. Well, not for the Marines, anyway. But, you see, the way things are right now isn't that conducive to a farewell party. Do you think Virgo and I could enlist your help? In any other circumstance, I might be the first one to see your dreadful posterior out the door, Velo frowned. I cannot, however, condone the dreadful presence of a Marine Vice Admiral. Velo flexed her hands under her sleeves, her fingers turning to wicked claws beneath. She knew she could not defeat Monet, much less a Vice Admiral, but perhaps a surprise attack could buy her the time she needed to get back to the master and warn him of this. "Oh, Velo," Monet cooed, holding up the heart in her claws. Her talons tightened around it, squeezing the organ, and Velo felt a sharp pain in her chest. She doubled over, her knees buckling, as one hand unconsciously came up to press against the hole where her heart was meant to be. The other caught her fall before her head could hit the floor. She looked up, one eye screwed shut with pain as her other glared daggers into the harpy. Monet giggled, releasing the pressure on the heart. Velo let out a sigh as the pain subsided. "Now then," Monet smiled, "since you know where we all stand, I'll ask again." She leaned down, a chilling smile revealing sharpened teeth of snow that filled her maw. "Do you think Virgo and I could enlist your help?" "You," Kinnaman said, pointing at the man. "You're the magical swordsman?" "Trafalgar Law," Smoker said, eyeing the man but making no sudden moves. His hand reached out, grabbing Tashigi's arm before she could draw her sword further than an inch from its sheath. "I'll admit, I'm surprised to see you here, but it does explain the state of this samurai. Tell me, what's a warlord like you doing on this island?" "Currently," Law questioned, waving his hand. "Betraying Caesar Clown, the idiots who all but worship him, and the spies of both a warlord and an emperor." "Betrayal?" Tashigi asked. "Caesar Clown?" Smoker questioned. "Wait, an emperor in Terabang," Nami choked. "Correct," Law nodded. "I have obtained the information I needed from this place and am ready to move forward with a plan of my own, and that involves the destruction of this facility. Can I enlist the help of your crew, Cat Burglar?" "That depends," Nami replied, leaning back on one foot and crossing her arms. "If we're working together, then it's a transaction and I expect a few things from you for our services. To start, where's my son and who are we pissing off?" Currently, Caesar Clown has him and is developing plans to groom him into being the perfect lab assistant for the coming couple of decades. The emperor in question is Beast King, Kaido, and that man. Kinnaman exploded, and he would have jumped to his feet if everything from his hips and below were not still missing. He has sway over this facility in Terabang. "Anyone care to explain how all this is connected?" Sanji asked. "That pirate, the one known as Kaido, has my homeland of Wano under his thumb. He has been terrorizing the people there for the last 20 years and I cannot allow it any longer. That is why Momonosuke and I set out to sea, to find powerful warriors willing and able to topple that man from his throne. Then it seems there will be several countries with new rulership by the time we're done," Law grunted, his teeth gritting. "The warlord with ties here is Don Quixote da Flamingo, the current king of Dressrosa." "It seems this lab has some powerful patrons," Smoker commented. "The Marines will take custody of the scientists and spies on the island." "No, you won't," the warlord rebuffed. "Excuse me?" Smoker questioned. "You may hold the title of warlord, Trafalgar Law, but that does not mean you may interfere with marine business or prevent proper arrests. You can have Velo and Monet, but I need Caesar as a bargaining chip. He's going to get me close enough to Doflamingo so I can kill him." "Why?" Nami demanded. "Unless you have a way of getting him off this island, we're your ride now and I don't want this Caesar guy around my baby." Law frowned, turning his eyes on the Marines in their midst. He raised a hand, a blue orb forming under his palm. "Is this really the kind of conversation to have when the Marines can hear us?" "Right now, our goals align," Jin shrugged. "Besides, I'd rather not have to fight him. We were sent here to investigate the rumors of the island and stop the perpetrators," Smoker said. "Nowhere were my orders to capture you or the Straw Hats." Law held his stance for another few seconds before he dropped his hand, the blue orb fading into nothing. "Fine. I guess going against you all would be more hassle than it's worth. I need Caesar Clown because he's being funded and employed by Doflamingo, who in turn is making deals with Kaido and Wano." "What are they doing?" the Commodore asked. "Why is Caesar Clown so important to those powerful individuals?" "He's developed a way to create artificial devil fruits." "Impossible," Tashigi interrupted. "New devil fruits are found periodically, but no one has ever been able to create one on their own. Something is only impossible until someone manages it," Law rebuffed. "Now shut up and listen to me. Caesar developed a formula he calls SAD and uses it to grow what he calls smiles. That's his name for the artificial fruits. I've been here for months, but that's almost everything I've been able to learn. Without Caesar or the SAD, the current batch will be the last smiles that get shipped to Wano." "Then what's with the kids?" Nami demanded. "Another project, but for Big Mom," the man said. "Giants are the one race she doesn't have in talent yet. Something happened so that they want nothing to do with her, but she still wants them. She's paying Caesar to find a way to turn kids into giants for her family collection." "That's messed up," Sanji frowned, his cigarette dropping ashes on the floor. "That means taking out Caesar and his research will piss off 2 emperors." "Don, Matter T, Don Luffy," Jin chuckled. "Speaking of, where is Don?" "Last I heard, Caesar caught him and his group in an ambush." "What?" Nami demanded. "How could? He had Robin and Coby with him, not even Zoro's stupidity should have countered that. The pirate hunter was not with the group during the ambush. He made his way outside at some point and found 2 others of your crew. I ambushed them there in the snow, but they are not harmed." He added the last part quickly before any of the pirates could pull out their weapons. "Tri-Horn, the Devil Child, Long Nose, and the Ghost Ship were all taken to a cell they have since escaped from. Straw Hat and the Samurai's legs were dumped into the trash. At least, that's what Monet told me when I asked. Foolishly on Caesar's part or at Monet's behest, no one was killed." "My legs in Terabang?" Kinnaman questioned. "Are you referring to the ones severed from me?" "You found your body and your legs will go back on just as easily," Law waved off. "Anyway, I don't really care about the emperors. I'm just trying to get back at Doflamingo and Caesar Clown as a tool for that. Monet too, I suppose, but she's expendable. We've met Velo, Nami said, but the name Monet is new to me.
She is a member of Doflamingo's crew, sent here to keep an eye on Caesar so he doesn't go selling the secrets of Smile to any other black market dealers. I don't know if he's aware of that, though.
That means Velo is a member of Kaido's crew, then, Smoker deduced. Why is she here? Kaido is the one Doflamingo is selling the smiles to, Law answered. From what I hear, they're incomplete. That's what Velo said, anyway. She's here to experiment on those who have eaten smiles in an attempt to awaken the full use of the fruit's potential. She called it artificial awakening. Then those monsters we fought, Tashigi gasped. Members of Kaido's crew that he deemed expendable for the sake of Velo's research, Law nodded. She's got better access to smile science here, which is why she's not doing it in Wano. So it is human experimentation just like we thought, Sanji breathed. He blinked. Wait, the goat-legged guys, are they? No, that's my doing, the warlord admitted. The centaurs, too. That was my way of earning Caesar's trust so I could learn what I have. Apparently they were test subjects when the island became uninhabitable and Caesar gave them a way to walk again. I just made it more efficient. So, are you going to help me or not? We will, Nami decided. But I'll only fully agree when I have my son back and we'll talk about Caesar again before we leave. Are we clear about that? Is that all? Very well. Follow me, then. Law turned, leading then toward the door. Caesar and the air of chaos are this direction. Velo glared at Monet through the side of her eye, the green-haired harpy seemingly unconcerned by the heat in the smaller scientist's stare. Virgo walked on Velo's other side, the two traitors flanking her as a silent warning to not run. It will be so good to see everyone again, Monet said, having to hop and use her wings to compensate since she was unable to walk. It would have been a tad comical if Velo's heart wasn't still in her talons, which made the member of the Animal Kingdom pirates thankful for her choice to not step on it. Virgo, for his own part, had Law's heart in one hand, Monet's having already returned to its original place. Is there anything I show back? Well, Pink has changed a bit, the man said. He's gained some weight since that whole incident, you know, but it wasn't too bad until recently. He's been letting himself go in an attempt to shake off the leeches that think he's an easy cash grab. Why doesn't he just tell them to fuck off? He does, but more of them come. Virgo shrugged. You'd think they'd stop by now, but apparently him being a widower makes him more attractive. Some people just need to learn some self-respect, Monet said with a roll of her eyes. Pink needs to move on, too, but I'm sure he doesn't want to hear that. Anything else? The princess is still alive. Really? Monet blinked. Color me surprised. I was sure someone in the Colosseum would have done her in by this point. She's still kicking by the skin of her teeth, Virgo said. I think the young master still finds it entertaining, but he said he'll only leave her alone until the special tournament. After that, she'll have lived out her run on the stage. I look forward to it. Monet licked her lips. The despair on her face when she learns she's fought so hard against a foe she never had any chance of beating will be delicious to watch. I'm so glad I'll get to see it myself. Speaking of, are the prizes ready? Acquiring them wasn't too difficult. I'm certain their lure will bring in plenty of powerful individuals ripe for our picking. So, this young master individual, Velo commented, testing her luck. He must be a pretty dreadful person to get you both to be loyal to him. He's a name known around the world, Monet said with a grin. I'd order you to bow down and swear your loyalty to the young master, but I know you're obsessed with Kaido's lead fat ass. Do not say such dreadful things about. Velo barked only for Monet to tighten her grip on the heart in her talons. Velo doubled over again, gritting her teeth at the pain assaulted her. Anything to say now? Monet asked. Do not, Velo choked out. Do not say such dreadful things about Dr. Queen. Well, she's dedicated if nothing else, Virgo commented. Monet maintained her grip for another moment before letting go. Velo felt the pressure in her chest lessen, allowing her to breathe again. Monet, why didn't we just kill her? Do you want to piss off Kaido? You don't care about that. Virgo waved off. You know we could get away with blaming her death on any number of other people around here. What's the real answer? Does she have a true use or is it some weird sense of friendship? Ha! Monet laughed, barking out like a crow or a raven at the paltry idea of a friendship with the diminutive scientist. I would sell Velo's soul to the sea devils for a single corn chip. Nah, she's been doing research on SAD and the smile fruit's growth and effectiveness without Caesar's knowledge. Not only that, she cracked the secret formula a month ago. She's just been looking for a chance to run and return to Wano so Kaido can start growing Smile himself and cut both Caesar and the young master out of the deal. You, Interrobang, Velo gasped, stopping. Monet and Virgo passed her and turned, eyeing the horrified biologist. How, Interrobang?
How did I know? The harpy grinned. Velo, you're a brilliant scientist, but I'm a spy and a logia to boot. There was no way you could hide any of your secret research from me. Rather, if the young master had ordered me to, I would have slit your tiny throat when you started and let your little babies starve in their cages.
Then why didn't you? Velo asked. Why hold off on such a dreadful act? Because the young master wants what you know. That's the cost of your life, Velo. We'll return you to Kaido as soon as you give us what you know and forget what it is. You cannot do that, Velo said with certainty. There is no dreadful fruit known with the ability to erase one's memories. Even those that could do so theoretically are not in the possession of your dreadful little gang. You don't know what we can do, little Velo. And trust me, you don't want to know the extent of what we can. For your sake, I hope you decide to make the right choice and do as we say. Why you need me alive, the zone said. You can't do any dreadful thing to me. I destroyed the records I kept so the information only exists within my mind. Your captain's wrath would be dreadful if such information was lost because of your actions. You seem to be forgetting one key detail, Virgo commented, his hands and sleeves turning black with the sheen of armament hockey. We don't need your arms or legs to get the information we want. It's not about your life. It's about the rest of you. Velo paled. And my superiors won't stand for your dreadful actions when they hear about it, Dr. Queen and Captain Will. Well what? Monet grinned. They sacrifice crew members all the time for the sake of your research. Do you really think they care that much about you? Velo's mouth slowly distorted, elongating as her teeth turned to those of carnivores. Monet raised the heart in her hand, making Velo freeze partway through her transformation. The harpy taunted. Velo scowled as she slowly reverted. That's what I thought. Just be a good little pawn and do as you're told. I can't trust you to keep me alive, can I? Velo questioned. My fate will be dreadful either way. Well, that's not impossible, Virgo commented. We currently want you alive, however. We don't have any need for Caesar now that you know his secret formula, but we also can't allow you to take that secret to Wano and end our deal with Kaido. You will come with us, you will give us the secret to making Smile, and then you will forget the secret. Do all that and we will let you live. You expect me to believe such dreadful lies? Velo muttered. We don't care if you believe us or not, you just have to do what you're told. A door beeped and slid open before them, the trio stepping into another room, this one containing a small pedestal beneath a large, opaque screen. Welcome back, Valori. Funk, the computer said in a masculine voice. Oh, the harpy is here, go away. Velo swallowed audibly, her eyes darting to her captors. Go on, Monet urged, gesturing with the heart in her talons and unbothered by the blatant dismissal. Start it up. What dreadful thing do you want from me? The biologist demanded, moving slowly but still reaching the podium. Its surface held a keyboard ringed in small snails, a tiny cousin of the transponder snail that Velo had managed to rig for her setup. Caesar's done, Monet said, Velo stiffening as Virgo set his hockey-coated hand on her head in a silent threat. We're leaving, but just the three of us. You're going to release the rest of your monsters to attack Caesar and delay our guests long enough for us to make our escape. I really have no choice, Velo muttered. What a dreadful turn of events. Perhaps I should have stayed in Wano despite the risks. Hurry it up. Virgo grunted. As soon as you're done, we're leaving. She hesitated, causing Monet to squeeze. Not hard enough to hurt, but just enough for the periwinkle-haired woman to feel it. She sighed, reaching forward and shaking off her sleeves. Both of her wrists were incomplete, half an inch of space between her hands and the rest of her arms bridged only by a small pipe of metal. The right hand was the normal color of flesh, but the left was the metallic of steel. Its separation was not parallel but diagonal, a result of losing said hand when last she was assaulted by the forces of CP9 all those years ago. This is a dreadful idea, she warned. Some of these creatures can fly. There is no guarantee they remain on the island to wage this war the way you want them to. I seem to miss the part where that's our problem, Monet said. Besides, I know you have plans for this. I know you implanted orders into their heads. Now do it. Velo laid her fingers on the keyboard, connecting it to the PA system she'd had the centaurs install around the island. To all my cute babies around the island, Velo hone. Order code 424256. She cut herself off as Monet squeezed her heart. That's the kill switch, you bitch, the harpy hissed. Make them run rampant. Oh, order code, Velo swallowed. Order code 6236377, initiate. Suddenly, the lab was filled with the roaring of animals. There, Velo spat. Are you happy? Dreadfully happy, Monet replied with a smirk. Virgo? His hand came down. Velo felt a sharp pain in the top of her head before everything went dark. The intercom crackled to life, startling but not stopping the quartet of pirates as they ran through the hallways. To all my cute babies around the island, a female voice said. Order code 424256. It clicked off, coming back a moment later. Oh, order code 6236377, initiate. Suddenly, the lab was filled with the roaring of animals. Oh, that is not good, Coby commented, running with one hand behind him holding his broken horn. I don't know whose voice that is, but whatever order that was woke up a lot of unpleasant things. Could you be any more vague? Mary questioned. Are we talking more creatures like the ones we just fought? That or worst, Coby confirmed. I hate this place, Usopp moaned. That individual did not sound confident while giving that command, Robin observed. Nor was the one initiated the one she started with. I believe something more malicious is at play in this instance. Everyone, stop, Coby yelled, swinging his arms back to force the others to stop running. Usopp wasn't able to stop in time and slammed into Koby's arm, clotheslining himself. What the heck, Coby Interrobang? The sniper demanded, pulling himself off his back. What was that for Interrobang? I picked up Captain Luffy in my observation. Why didn't you just say that Interrobang, let's go now, we're close to Mrs. Nami and the others with her, Mary noted. Usopp, with me, Coby decided. Mary and Robin, go meet up with the others. Usopp and I will go get Luffy and meet with you, somewhere. Works for me, the Klabouterman agreed. Come on, Robin. Let's catch up to the others. Best of luck, Robin commented, following the white-haired fairy in the direction they'd been moving previously. Usopp jumped to his feet as Coby closed his eyes, trying to map a path toward where he felt Luffy's spirit. The zone sucked in a slow breath and raised his broken horn. Usopp, move. Right. The sniper jumped back as the young swordsman aimed his improvised weapon at the floor. One horn style. Severance. His hands blurred as they swung the horn, ripping a gash through the floor. The strain was, however, too much for the calcemic structure which shattered in Koby's grip. Shit. Son of a pudge ed CD inbred bastard. The Rossid cursed as blood dripped from his palm. Seriously, when did you start cursing so much? It's just a part of life on the darker side of the Sabaody archipelago, Coby replied, pulling out a simple length of cloth to wrap his hand. Sorry, it kind of just became habit after a while. At least I can keep it under control around Ace. So, how far down does this go? Usopp asked, looking through the gash in the floor Coby had made. The prehistoric zone user joined him, both staring down. Looks like I managed to cut through a couple levels. Damn, I was going for 3. I could have done it if I had Hashokusha or Imono. You sound like Zoro, Usopp commented with a shake of his head. So we've got another floor to go? Yeah, Coby nodded. I don't know where Captain Luffy was, but he just suddenly showed up in some corner of the bottom floor. And by bottom, I mean like the basement. This is a circular building. I don't think the bottom floor has corners. That's not what I meant and you damn well know it, Usopp. Now come on. Coby jumped, falling through the space he'd made. Usopp muttered something to himself and followed, clenching his jaw so he wouldn't scream as they fell into another hallway like any other. Coby hit the floor with a crash, the tile under his feet cracking at the impact. Usopp didn't quite stick the landing, falling over upon contact. He gave a muffled groan. Ow, really, Usopp? Bite me. Sorry, that does not sound appetizing. Yeah, you'd rather take a bite of G. Look out, Coby tackled Usopp, the pair barely missing the massive, green needles that impaled the ground where Usopp had been standing. They rolled, adrenaline bringing them to their feet as they spun to see the source of the attack. Staring at them was a giant mix between a porcupine and an armadillo, but bigger in size than Billy their duck. It was porcupine-ish for the most part. 4 lines of hard scales running down its back causing the needles to stand in 5 separate rows, 3 between and 2 on the outside. It had needles pointing forward, backward, and straight up. Its quills rattled as it hissed, showing off 2 separate rows of razor teeth and long, clawed fingers. Its eyes were pure white, foam dribbling over and from its lips. Alright, am I allowed to curse about this? The Rossid questioned. Why yes. Son of a Jabra, that thing's nasty. The Arma Pine hissed, quills shooting from its back. Coby grabbed 2 from the first attack and used them to deflect and redirect this new set. Each one rang like the pipe of a chime, each hit causing the quill in question to ring until it hit the floor. They were dissonant altogether, the vibrations causing Coby to feel a queasiness in his stomach. Green Star. Rafflesia, Usopp yelled, throwing the seed in question over Koby's shoulder. The plant bloomed directly beneath the head of the creature. The green thing gagged, hacking and wheezing until the stench overpowered it and it fell over. That thing wasn't too tough, Usopp sighed. Maybe not, but I don't want to be around when its friends show up. We need to find a way to the lower floor. The pair took off, putting distance between themselves and the monster they'd incapacitated for the moment. I'm guessing that things related to the creatures we fought a while ago. But why? Usopp questioned. If they're here, that means someone made them, right? Who? The master guy. I don't think so, the swordsman replied with a hum. The way he and the winged woman ambushed us, that didn't scream, I make monsters or anything. Plus, that voice we heard didn't sound like either one of them. I'm thinking there's another scientist on the island. So that's the person who made all those horrible things? Usopp asked as they rounded a bend. Why? Who knows, Coby shrugged. Luckily, if most of them are like that porcupine thing, then I think we've already dealt with the better ones. We just had to hope there aren't so many that they have strength in numbers. They can't be that easy to make. Naturally, as soon as Coby finished speaking, Something whipped out from the wall and smacked him, sending the zone back down the hallway from whence the pirates had come until he hit the wall by the corner. Coby! Usopp gasped, having to jump out of the way as that same thing swung around, cratering the ground where he'd been standing. The creature had a mostly red body with shifting highlights of gold, its form that of a giant centipede. It snapped its mandibles, each seemingly capped with another pair of pincers, as its long body undulated. Its entire body was far too long, spiraling up the wall, across the ceiling, down the other side, across the floor, and back up the wall to repeat this pattern 3 times before ending at an open hatch in the ceiling. Its body was covered in some liquid that fell to the floor in great globs. "Oh, that's just gross," Usopp complained, keeping his eyes on the thing in the event it tried any sudden moves. "Coby, you good? Did anyone get the number of the Sea King that hit me?" "Don't need to. It's still here." Coby shook his mind clear and pushed himself to his feet, his hazy vision taking in the image of their new foe. "I'm not sure if I wish Sanji was here or not," the Rosset muttered, rubbing his head. "Alright, let's see if I picked it up from Merrywick." An arc of sharpened air shot from Koby's leg and raced toward the creature. It didn't so much as flinch, the razor air slicing into the side of its body. There were several squeee sounds like the hiss of air escaping containment before parts of the creature started to flake off. Its skin shifted, filling the hole Koby's attack had left behind. "Green star. Bamboo javelins," Usopp yelled, throwing the seed in question. The bamboo shot upward from its point of contact with the floor, impaling the creature in several places. It didn't slow down, however. In fact, the beast seemed to flow around the plants like water, said plants shrinking as if they were being absorbed into the monster wherever they touched. The liquid that dripped from its body ate away at the plant's roots, not as quickly as the dragon's acid would have, but fast enough to be noticed. "The heck is this thing?" he asked. "Usopp," Coby muttered. "I have a bad feeling I know what's going on." "Do tell. You know how I said something about strength of numbers?" "Oh, you have got to be kidding me." Unfortunately, Coby wasn't off the mark. Upon closer inspection, the creature was not one thing but many things acting as one. Hundreds, thousands, maybe millions of smaller centipedes crawled over each other acting as one unit that stared down the pirates. The liquid that dripped from it was the same sort of ravenous foam the arm of pine had. But every centipede was foaming at the mouth. "It's a goda-damned hive mind species," Coby said. "You got anything in there for large-scale crowd control?" "I could try to set it on fire," Usopp offered, pulling a bottle of high-proof rum out of his bag. "I'm more a fan of running, though." "You know what, good plan. Let's do both, great." The conglomeration of centipedes screeched, Usopp and Coby booking it back the way they'd come. The former of the pair threw the bottle of alcohol at the monster. The insects acting as mandibles tried to catch the bottle only for the glass to shatter in their grip, coating the whole upper, head, area. "Crap," Usopp realized. "I don't have kabuto, so I don't have any way to light it." "You've got your serious Tabasco in there, right?" "Yeah, why? Give it to me." "But, we don't have time, Usopp." The long-nosed man shucked over his bottle of hot sauce, Coby popping the top off and turning back to the angry hive mind chasing them. "This is gonna suck." He downed the bottle. "Something is going on up there," Luffy said as the building stopped shaking from a localized explosion somewhere above them. "Maybe it has something to do with that girl listing numbers." "That was an order of some sort," Momonosuke reminded him, the dragon child draped across Luffy's shoulders. Kinemon's legs no longer shifted in the zone's grip, but more so because they seemed to realize they couldn't do anything at the moment. "To do what? Light fireworks? Are you toying with me, or do you really believe the thing's coming out of your mouth?" "It would be cool if they were setting off fireworks," Luffy defended. "They're probably attacking, though. That's usually what happens when things start exploding."
"By the spirits, you do have a brain. I don't know anything about spirits, but I know a lot about fighting." The pirate grinned, his arm starting to spin as he warmed up. "So, since I know how to do it, let's stop wandering and start punching."
"Please Don. Here we go." Momonosuke's words fell on deaf ears as Luffy punched straight upward, his fist ripping through ceiling and tile to create a hole big enough for Luffy, Momonosuke, and all their cargo to pass through safely. The behatted pirate jumped through, landing in a hallway filled with the burnt, smoking remains of hundreds of centipedes. "Whoa," Luffy blinked. "What happened here, Luffy?" The pirate turned at the sound of his name, finding Usopp with his hand on Koby's back. The Rosset was hunched over on his hands and knees, coughing up smoke, an empty Tabasco bottle on the floor beside him. "Usopp," Luffy grinned. "Coby, good to see you, I have your weapons." "You got kabuto in Terabang?" Usopp asked, abandoning Coby to run up to their captain. Luffy's grin widened, handing the sniper his slingshot. Usopp wrapped it in a hug of sorts, muttering promises to not lose it again. "You good, Coby?" Luffy asked. Spicy," the swordsman coughed, trying to get to his feet. Luffy went to him, offering his shokusha and imono to the grateful Rosset. "Did he get them all?" I think I saw some crawling away, Usopp replied. They won't mess with us again. Man, this place weird, Luffy said. Look, I found a talking eel. I am not an eel, Momonosuke protested, dragging attention to himself. My name is Momonosuke. Ah crap, Usopp whined. A third dragon, Captain, Coby interrupted. Nami and a group are in the building. We should go to them. Yeah, great idea, the behatted pirate nodded. I've got their weapons, too. Let's go. The intercom crackled to life. To all my cute babies around the island, a female voice said. Order code 424256, it clicked off, coming back a moment later. Order code 6236377, initiate. Suddenly, the lab was filled with the roaring of animals. That sounded like Velo's voice. Kaku observed as the group slowed to a stop, each set of eyes moving a different direction connected to a different cry. She didn't sound happy, neither. Something tells me she didn't want to say that. Well, she said it, Nami commented, whatever it is. And now we get to deal with the fallout, Smoker frowned. This stinks. That is the biggest understatement of our situation, Law said. I have seen many of her creations and… That's not what I mean, the Marine grunted. Even with our limited interaction with her, this does not seem like something she would normally do. This is a cover for something else. Masking something amidst chaos, Tashigi realized. Exactly. But what? Something is happening right now that we don't know about it, and if we let it happen, it will build into something that will be far worse to deal with later. Tashigi, we're going. You're just gonna ditch us? Jin demanded. We cannot leave this be, Smoker replied. I'll be honest, I don't trust you all. That said, I have less trust for Caesar or any of his lackeys here. They are our mutual enemies. Tashigi and I will investigate this matter while you all continue on to face Caesar Clown. Are we clear? We don't take orders from you, Sanji said, breathing out a puff of smoke. No, but you'll do it anyway because he currently has hold of the air of chaos. Damn it, Jin sighed. I hate it when Marine are right. Then this is where we part for now. Tashigi, let's go. Sir, the pair took off back the way they'd come. Come on, Nami insisted. We don't need them. Let's go get Ace before anything happens. The young mother lead the group, Jin, Sanji, Kaku, Kinemon, and Law following her as the warlord and their group directed her to a certain hallway. There he stopped them. Caesar's lab is nearly directly above us, he said. I can use my powers to teleport us there and get the drop on him, but we need to hurry. He's not alone. We'll need to move quick since you'll see my room. What are you waiting for, Interrobang? In response, Law reached his arm out, palm down, a ball of translucent blue forming beneath. It expanded, moving past the walls in a sphere around him. The man turned his hand upward, a twist of his fingers causing the group to vanish. Oh shit, Sanji muttered, his head spinning at the sudden displacement as they landed on the floor above. What sorcerer's prowess, Kinemon commented. He's behind this door, Law said, gesturing toward a single, metal door directly ahead of them. We need to move quickly. Someone screamed from within. Nami shot forward like a rocket. Not as quickly as some of her crewmates could, but a worried parent possesses many limits beyond the average person no matter the universe. She forced the door open with a crash. The inside was a mess, overturned or destroyed bar stools and couches littered the ground with debris and obstacles, each covered in some green, nearly opaque gunk. Caesar Clown cowered at the far side of the room, something like a giant slug undulating its massive, green, slimy body toward him on the ceiling. Its point of origin was a hatch in one of the walls, far smaller than the slug but still spitting out the backside of the creature as more and more of its bulk entered the room. Help me, the scientist cried, flinging a ball of some gaseous chemical toward the creature. The gas coated the side of the slug, permeating its mucus-covered hide before the affected slime flaked off to be quickly replaced. Hell is that? Jin questioned, taking in the disgusting creature. It ain't natural, I can tell you that, Kaku said. What a vile abomination, Kinemon agreed, fingering his swords. Shall we cut it down? I don't care, Nami yelled. Where's my son Interrobang, Nami Swan? Sanji shouted, pointing at the creature. It swallowed him. Looking closer, there was a toddler-sized darker mass within the slug. Arms and legs flailed, trying to escape the creature to no avail. Get him out, she screamed, lightning already crackling at the end of her cleam attack. Donna, ya can't hit it, Jin warned. Lightning'll shock young master, too. Hell memories. Sanji called, fire surrounding his form. He shot forward, burning shoes already smashing into the sides of the creature. It let out a sort of hissing shriek as the heat caused its liquids to flash boil, its viscous skin shriveling as it dried out. Foxfire Festival. Kinemon added, his sword slashing through the dried abomination. It all but exploded into cubes, leaving a mucus-covered but very much still alive child suspended in the air. Nami leapt forward, catching Ace before gravity could drag him all the way to the floor. Ace! Nami cried, tears from a mixture of emotions running down her cheeks before falling on the boy. Her son coughed, spitting up globs of the slug's innards as his hands tried to wipe away the residue from his eyes. Ace. Oh, my baby boy. Are you okay? In Terabang, this is why I wanted you to wait with Sunny and the others. Mommy? He spit up a final piece of gunk on the navigator's coat, but Nami couldn't care less about her outfit at that moment. She pulled him close, uncaring for the slimy stuff that still covered him. Oh, Ace, Mommy. Ace hugged her back as well as he could, tears streaming down his face cutting through the mucus there. I'm sorry, Mommy, I'm so sorry. It's okay now, Nami insisted, rubbing the back of his head. Mommy's here, it's okay. Screee. The remaining parts of the slug thing cried, coiling as if to lunge toward the reunited mother and son. Jin flashed forward, interposing himself between them and the monster with his electric wings spread and a ball of yellow forming between his palms. 10 million volt lightning shot, he yelled, the sphere of condensed lightning shooting forward. It impacted the rest of the creature with the echoing boom of thunder undercut by the dying screams of the monster. It shriveled in a puff of steam, turning into a trail of black that crumbled to pieces upon hitting the ground. Ace didn't look up, his face buried in Nami's coat as she curled herself around him. Alright, what hell was that? Jin demanded. Another one of Velo's little pets? One apparently specially designed to kill Caesar. Law nodded, hard eyes falling on the scientist in question as he stepped into the room. Ah, Law, Caesar said, a shaky grin coming to him lips as his former lackey approached with even steps. I knew I could trust you. Shut up, you worm, the warlord spat, drawing his sword to level the blade at the man's throat. Black mist formed over the metal, coating it in armament hockey. Where are Velo and Monet? I don't know, Caesar insisted, hands up and back pressed against the corner. Velo left right after you did, screaming something about Monet. They've always disliked each other, Law said. Why would, he trailed off, his frown deepening. That's what the distraction was for. Law, what's going on? Sanji demanded. We're too late, we'll never find them in time. Never find who? What are you talking about? Velo didn't release her creations because she wanted to, the pirate captain said. Monet made her. She's abandoning the lab. I don't know why, but they apparently don't need Caesar anymore. Fuck, there goes my plan. He spun, hockey-coated sword swinging through the air. But Caesar had already begun dispersing himself into various gases. The sword cut through nothing as the logia scientist fled into one of the vents. Law growled, cutting Caesar's desk in half as he spit out a curse. So what now? Kaku asked. We've got Ace back but Velo's, what, running away? Where to? Velo's not running, Law corrected. She's being taken for something. Whatever she knows makes Caesar more of a Lieutenant Monet's using Velo's monsters to slow us down. There's only one place Monet would go, though. Then we don't need to catch her, Jin suggested, the others turning to look at him. If we know where she's going, then we don't even need to follow her trail. We just gotta get out of here. That's right, Nami agreed, getting to her feet while still holding Ace close to her chest. Let's find everyone else, get back to Sunny, and get out of here. Law, you can tell us what your whole deal is on the way. It appears I don't have a choice, the warlord acquiesced. Fine, but I don't want to repeat myself. I'll explain later. What is the plan, sir? Tashigi questioned, running in Smoker's wake. The man didn't answer with words, only grunting as they turned a corner. Both Marines slowed to a stop, watching as a giant salamander swiveled its head unnaturally to look at them from the wall, the limp form of one of the yellow hazmat suit-wearing workers hanging from its mouth. The lizard's body was protected by a layer of plated, spike-covered chitin and the tail of a scorpion hovered beside its back. Sharp teeth had torn through the plastic of the worker's suit, blood dripping from it onto the floor. Transparent eyelids blinked across its golden irised eyes. One before the other, before it hissed at them, the sound slightly muffled by the corpse in its mouth. It turned tail and ran down a different hallway, its legs seeming to stretch and contract with each step. Was that a body? Tashigi asked. This place has become a hunting ground, Smoker commented, and we are not the top of the food chain. We must do our best to learn why Velo caused this and where she has gone. We don't have any idea where she is, though, the woman pointed out, her eyes still on the last place they'd seen the killer salamander. What of the workers? They are of no concern, the Commodore grunted. They were complicit with the kidnapping of the children and we don't have the manpower to track them down and arrest them. Leave them to their fates here. What we need is a map or a system that might show us where Velo went. With all due respect, sir, Velo may already be out of our reach by now. If not now, she will be by the time we fight our way through the monsters.
Then we need to learn where she will be. Something screeched in pain down a hallway, indistinct voices yelling at each other over the cry. Smoker and Tashigi glanced at each other before running that direction, the sounds of battle getting clearer as they drew close. Smoker threw his hand out, stopping Tashigi in her tracks, just before something crashed into the upcoming corner they were about to turn.
Yeah, a voice cheered. Take that, big boy. Our battle is not yet over, another voice warned. Do not celebrate prematurely, Mary. The creature in question nearly filled the whole hallway with its bulk. Its skin was a thick, calloused gray that faded into brown in its legs and neck. The legs seemed almost too short, leading down to massive hooves, and the head was that of a massive boar. 6 wicked tusks grew from its snout, twisted around so that 2 pointed upward, 2 downward, and 2 directly ahead. Its beady eyes were red as blood, anger and malice clear to see. "Baru!" the beast cried, scrambling to its feet. "We don't have time for this," Smoker growled. "Tashigi." "Kamaitachi." Shiger turned to little more than a flash of steel, a dozen lines cutting themselves open along the creature's flank. It trumpeted and turned, preparing to thunder toward the Marines. Tashigi planted herself between it and Smoker, Shiger leveled and ready. In the close quarters of the hallways, it would be all but impossible to dodge the creature's charge. Shave. Iron horns. The boar's eyes widened as something impacted its side, driving into the creature. Red splattered from its opened wounds now pressed against the wall. Its mouth opened but made no sound. Viente fleur. Double slap. From the ceiling above came 2 large hands, pressing the already wounded beast into the floor. It moaned but did not get back up, allowing the hands to disperse into flower petals. "This place is a lot more interesting than the burning side," Mary laughed, her visage appearing in the space between the boar and the corner. She blinked. "Oh, Marines. That explains why it turned. I thought I just knocked it stupid and it wanted to run." "Mary, be amicable," the other voice warned, Robin appearing behind her. The woman's head tilted slightly as she took in the Marine personnel, one hand unconsciously covering the May dye carrier around her and the dragon egg within. "Pardon. Are we acquainted? You both seem familiar." Tashigi turned her sword toward them but hesitated. This allowed Smoker to walk around her, using his hand to push her weapon down. She got the message, huffing as she replaced Shiger in its sheath. "I am Commodore Smoker," the man said, acting head of Marine Branch G5. "This is my second, Captain Tashigi. We." "Oh, you're Smokey and the lookalike," Mary grinned. "I was hoping to meet you too at some point. I've heard complaints about you, mostly from Zoro." "Lookalike," Tashigi muttered. "Why does everyone insist on calling me Smokey?" The logia growled. He shook the thought away. "No, that's not important. You two are members of the Straw Hat Pirates." "Indeed," Robin nodded. "Though no longer prepubescent, I am called the Devil Child and this one is our resident free-roaming spirit, the Ghost Ship." "Ghost Ship, going Mary, at your service." The Klabouterman bowed. "Traveling the land on my own 2 feet." "Right," the Commodore muttered to himself. "Law did say you two were part of a group that was captured and had escaped." "If I may inquire, what brings your presence here?" Robin questioned. "We aren't here to fight," Smoker said, trying to head off any conflict before it could manifest. "We currently have a tentative truce with your crew, facilitated by your second Klabouterman and finalized by your navigator. We split off from a group of your crewmates to track down the woman who instigated this madness, Dr. Velo. The others were after Caesar Clown." "I cannot say either of us is familiar with the name Velo," Robin said. "I surmise it was her voice on the announcement?" "That's right," Tashigi nodded. "We think she released her beasts to slow us down." "Well, as one familiar with quick exits myself, it is almost guaranteed she is outside your grasp already," Robin said, tilting her head as a half-dozen memories flinted through her mind. "It would behoove you more to ruminate about your own exit and safety now and consider where this Velo has gone afterward. And Caesar Clown? Is that not a rather famous scientist?" "He is," Smoker confirmed. "Used to be on the government's payroll until this place had its accident. Something tells me it might not have been so accidental if he came back. Regardless, we are present now to deal with the fallout." "That is what I said. What more can you tell us of the situation?" Robin asked. The boar moaned, shifting. Mary moved first, some one of her wooden hammers from her spectral essence before smashing it against the boar's skull. Its eyes rolled, the beast slumping again. "So?" Robin asked, unperturbed. "The other group was after Velo for her kidnapping of the heir of chaos." Smoker began slowly, one eye on the boar while the other eyed Mary warily. "En route, we met with Trafalgar Law who told us possession of your captain's son had been transferred to Caesar." "That explains the heightened emotions at the range of my senses," Mary commented. "I think Mrs. Nami's got aced back if that's the case. I'd have sensed it if something bad happened." "You possess observation haki?" "Not yet," the fairy sighed. "Like other Klaboutermans, I can inherently sense my crew, but only them." Tashigi opened her mouth. "Please, don't ask me how it works. We've narrowed it down to a cognition thing but couldn't figure out the specifics. I have to acknowledge them as crew. They have to bada bing, bada boom, I can feel them." "Well, it's not the weirdest thing we've seen," the female Marine said with a shake of her head. "What of the rest of your group?" "Coby and Uncle Usopp went after Captain Luffy since Coby sensed him. I imagine they're on their way already." She tilted her head. "I think they're moving this way, actually. Wanna wait with us?" "We need to at least attempt to find Velo," Smoker muttered. but it sounded like even he didn't expect any attempt would bear fruit at this point. Failing that, we must capture Caesar Clown for his role in all this. I don't feel too strongly one way or the other about him, Mary admitted, Robin humming in agreement. I mean, we'll do what Captain Luffy says to, so it's him you need to convince. If you want to find Velo, Coby might be your best bet. His observation has the best range out of all of us. Sir, we should stand down, Tashigi, Smoker ordered. They're not our enemies at the moment. Rather, we should start moving. Why do you say that? Mary asked. Because something's watching us. Smoker turned slowly to cast his gaze back the way they'd come, but nothing there caught his eye. Even so, something in his observation didn't feel right. He moved, shoving Tashigi to the side. Something long and thin stabbed through his elbow, the pierced parts of his body turning into smoke. He pulled back as the thing retracted, the marine catching only a hint of dark, muted yellow leading back to something shimmering. It stood as tall as the marine with long, slender legs and a thin, pear-shaped body. The way light bounced off it made the creature, for a creature it must be, hard to discern even with it directly before them. It lunged, its beak stabbing through Smoker's shoulder only for the man to turn into smoke once more. Run, he ordered, Tashigi and pirates taking off down the other corridor. The thing let out a thrill like a bird but did not follow them. Smoker's last glimpse of the thing seeing it blend into the darkness and disappear. He didn't want to take any chances, following the women with one eye still looking over his shoulder as Mary led the way. The Klabouterman skidded to a stop in the middle of some random hallway, jumping up to the ceiling before kicking off it to smash a hole in the floor with her horns. The tile cracked, Tashigi's yelp lost in the noise as the floor below them crumbled. Mary! A voice cheered from below. Smoker spun, he and Tashigi landing on their feet as Nico Robin slowly came down, held aloft by wings made of bloomed limbs. On the floor below, directly under where Mary had made the hole, stood the captain of their ship. The long nose knelt to one side, a hand on the shoulder of the Trihorn. Said young man was on his knees, gripping his head with a pinched expression. Captain, what's wrong with Coby? The white-haired fairy questioned. I don't know, Luffy answered. He just dropped, muttering something about lights. Please, Coby, Robin whispered. Get a hold of yourself. It's just like then, the Rosset whimpered, tears forming at the corners of his shut eyes. The lights, they're disappearing one by one, so many of them, everywhere. It's his observation, Smoker said. Vice Admiral Garp informed me that something similar happened to him at Marineford. We's sensing are all the workers of the laboratory being killed by Velo's monsters. Marines. Usopp screamed, pointing at them. Oh, hey Smokey, Luffy blinked. The Marine bit back a retort, knowing it would do less than nothing to the way Straw Hat addressed him. When did you get here? About the same time your wife and crewmates broke out of containment to return to your ship, the Commodore grunted. I'm glad they're having fun, Luffy grinned. I don't have to fight you this time, do I? No, not this time, Smoker said. We're here on this island to arrest Caesar Clown, the man behind the operations here, he. Oh, Mary, Luffy interrupted, pulling two hammers from the plethora of weapons holding his person down. Only then did Smoker fully comprehend that there was a pink lizard of some sort wrapped around the pirate's neck like a sort of boa, the samurai's legs held in its coils. It was doing an admirable job of pretending it didn't exist. Here are your hammers. I found them. Thanks, Captain, the Klabouterman said. My spiritual ones are fine and all, but they just don't pack the same punch as these babies. Caesar Clown ordered the kidnapping of your son, Smoker said, redirecting Luffy's attention back to him. He what in Terabang, the pirate captain demanded. The cat burglar, electric devil, black leg, spring wind, and the samurai, the lizard around Straw Hat's neck twitched. Should have rescued him by now with the help of Trafalgar Law, but you should know it happened. You want us to fight him for you, Mary accused. It isn't out of the question, Smoker admitted, deciding that being forthcoming with his intentions would be best. Now that Velo has released her monsters unto the island and most likely gotten away, it is safer to travel in groups. If she has not escaped already, you yourself said Trihorn would be the best hope of finding her, Ghost Ship. We don't have much time, however. Every moment we wait his is another Velo has to get away and another chance for one of her creatures to find us. So we need Coby, huh? Luffy asked, tilting his head. He turned, kneeling before his second ever crewmate. Wake up, Coby.
Luffy punched him, Koby's head smacking against the floor.
Straw Hat. Tashigi gasped. Smoker felt his own jaw drop a little. OWW. Coby whined, now clutching at the lump on his head. Damn it, Luffy. What was that for Interrobang? Felt like it, Luffy shrugged. Besides, we need you to do stuff. Coby opened his eyes, having to blink several times before he fully comprehended Smoker and Tashigi. It took him another second before he recognized them. Commodore Smoker? He asked, shooting to his feet. Captain Tashigi? So you two were the lights I recognized? I won't say it's nice to see you, too, Smoker said. As I explained to the Devil Child and Ghost Ship, Velo. The woman who made the creatures running around seems to be on her way out. Can you feel anyone moving quickly? Give me a moment. Coby closed his eyes and focused, extending his senses into his observation. He pulled in a breath and held it, blowing out slowly. Pushing down the horrid void that formed as lights he could sense were snuffed out, he extended his range to fill the entire building. He could practically see his crewmates, a group in the building and the rest on the shore surrounded by other lights, none hostile. I don't know Velo's light, but it might have something to do with the two standing at the very top of the mountain. Wait. There's a third. It's real dim. Especially compared to the two nearby. Dim? Smoker questioned. He followed it with a curse. She's got backup. Despite her lack of a coat, Monet didn't seem bothered by the biting cold at the very top of the mountain. No wind whipped their faces here, something that Virgo was glad for even if it meant little in the long run. Velo's unconscious form was draped over the vice admiral's shoulder with little care, his expression as stoic as ever. They stood there quietly for a few minutes, Monet tapping one of her talons against the hard earth to some tune only she could hear as they waited. Eventually, a steady, deep rumble started to grow, interspersed with a repetitive chop 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 as a yellow blob started to take shape.
Virgo. A voice said as the yellow blob got closer. Monet. Good to see you, Dasuyan. I'm ready to get you out right NNNNIIIIYYYYYYOOW, Dasuyan.
Buffalo, Monet smiled. Perfect timing. Buffalo was a large man, taller than Virgo by only a few inches but wider by more than half. His black hair spun around his head, creating a mirage-like mane from the sheer speed as it acted like a plane's propeller. His arms were extended to either side like wings. The man settling on the mountaintop was a bright yellow with a pair of chains crossed over his chest and back, a collar of fluff helping to ward off the cold. A pair of buck teeth were on prominent display as he smiled, a smiley face with a slash through it tattooed on his teeth. His hair continued to spin. Get on, I'll get you all back to the young master in no time at all, Dasuyan. Thank you, Buffalo. Monet nodded as Virgo climbed onto the other man's back. I will fly on my own, however. You needn't worry about carrying me. Oh, okay. If you say so, Dasuyan. He buzzed, his seemingly scrawny legs carrying his bulk and Virgo with their cargo to the edge where Buffalo threw himself over the side. The air buoyed them, the man taking flight once more. Monet spread her wings, taking to the air, and settled alongside them. So, what's the plan, Dasuyan? I've already talked it over with the young master if that's what you're asking, Monet said. As soon as I told him Velo was beginning research of how Sad is made and her goals and theories for advancement, we knew we'd be taking her back at some point. He almost told me to kill her off then and there, but he decided to wait instead. I see, Dasuyan, Buffalo replied. He would have nodded if doing so would not have affected their flight. That explains the lab the young master has been building these last few months. It's a lot smaller than this one, though. Are we sure it'll be enough, Dasuyan? It will have everything she needs, Monet assured him. Caesar's a great chemist, but Velo's a biologist. She knows the chemicals in the body. There's no way Velo could have made Sad on her own. But Caesar's formulas and her studies on those who have eaten smiles were just the starting point she needed to improve its effectiveness. According to her notes, she's nearly cracked what she calls glad. If all goes right with her calculations, it can theoretically bump the smile's success rate to 50%. She wasn't going to just give it to us or Caesar, though, for obvious reasons. I'm certain the young master will be pleased, Virgo commented. Not only have you prevented an end of our cash cow with Kaido, but you are also saving us money since we no longer need to fund Caesar's inane research facility. Good work. Please, Monet grinned. Your assignment has been a lot longer than mine. And it is not over yet, Virgo agreed. I have taken some vacation days to visit you all, but I must be careful that I am not recognized and word reach back to the Navy. Don't you worry about that, Monet said. We'll take your secret to the grave. Other people's, that is, Dasuyan. Buffalo laughed. Settle in. We've got a little way to go still, Dasuyan. Monet's den started to rain. Caesar remanifested himself, a scowl on his face. The screens before him showed the various visual den feeds from around the island and within the laboratory, but nothing he saw was good. On one screen, his minions fleeing from a two-headed bird. Another, two trapped in the pincers of a semi-aquatic hybrid. Yet another, a whole group being devoured by a spiked lizard. And yet another, two monkey-like creatures dumping out the vats that held his entire collection of sad and laughing about it. His scowl devolved into a snarl, a scream of rage forcing its way out of his throat. Caesar turned to the table beside him, his hands sweeping the various beakers and flasks from its surface. They shattered over the tile, their contents splattering and mixing, but Caesar didn't care. He was ruined. It would take months if not years to repair all the damage Velo's creations were causing, the time needed expanding with every splash of red and fallen body. His minions were stupid and easy to get rid of one by one, but they were loyal and very, very hard to replace. Damn it, the scientist hissed. Minutes. That's all it took for his plans to fall after Velo made that damnable announcement. Something seemed to click, Caesar's head snapping up at a thought. He turned back to the cameras, scouring each one for a hint of either of his aides. Law had aligned himself with the invading pirates and marines, who were themselves in 3 different groups. Velo's creations were everywhere else, but he could find no evidence that any of them snagged either Velo or Monet. Almost literally fuming, Caesar floated over to the snail in the corner, quickly punching a number into the side of its shell. The snail woke instantly, humming its dial tone. "Answer me, Monet," the scientist hissed to himself. "Answer me." "Ca lick. Hello, doctor." "Monet," Caesar all but yelled. "Good, you're still alive. Are you aware of the situation in the laboratory? It appears Velo has betrayed us." "I am well aware," the harpy replied, "more than you know." "Good. Very good. Get to work subduing the beasts. After that, I want you to bring Velo to me. She thinks it's funny to pull this and cost me so much manpower. I'll show her. She's the next test subject for my hallucinogenic gas. We'll see how her cybernetics take to the chemicals." "Sorry, Doc. Not this time. Not this, Monet, what are you?" "The family doesn't need you anymore," Monet said, her voice slow as if she were trying to explain to a child. Velo improved on sad behind her back. "She's more valuable than you are. More controllable, too. And when we have her working for us in Dressrosa, we're going to save the young master so much money by not dealing with you. He also wasn't happy of your little side business selling Velo's failures and not going through him to do it. After all, Joker doesn't like it when games are played without him. It's been fun, Doc, but I'm going home. Honestly, I'm surprised you're still alive for us to talk, but alas, this is the end. Have fun in Velo's zoo, though. I hear some of the exhibits are killer." "Monet, you bitch. Get back here," and the snail clicked off, going back to sleep. Caesar stared at it, 1,000 words trying to make their way out of his throat but none completing the path. All that came from him were strangled half-sounds that did little to convey the rage and betrayal he felt in that moment. Screaming, he threw the snail. The poor invertebrate skid across the tile, doing little to alleviate his anger. Something moved on one of the screens, dragging Caesar's attention to it. He paused, shuffling over. Slowly, oh so slowly, a mad grin spread across his face. "Oh smiley," Caesar sang to himself, his finger flicking a clear box from a big, red button. "Come to me, I have a treat for you." The folks around Sunny didn't know what to make of Velo's announcement, Brooke and Sunny's concert only stuttering as the doctor's voice echoed over the snow. Only Brooke's experience with playing over adoring crowds kept them going, keeping the kids asleep and their addiction at bay. The musical pair glanced at each other, though neither had eyes to glance with, and decided to leave the reaction to this new development to their crewmates. "Who was that supposed to be?" Amy questioned, the blonde sitting on Sunny's railing as she and the Marines watched Zoro and Billy's body swinging Wado Ichimonji through the air. It was, in all honesty, both impressive and hilarious to see a look of such concentration on the duck's face as the swordsman stuck within found the best way to wield a sword with a beak. Now, he was jumping and flipping as he practiced a new style since his temporary body did not possess the muscle mass, nor the thumbs, to pull off his usual attacks. Several Marines had already challenged the great pirate hunter to fights in the hopes that they could claim victory while he was handicapped, but Billy Zoro had trounced them all. Non-lethally, of course. Their pride, however, was far more wounded. On the other side, Frankie laughed with his new shipwright buddies, the pirate and Marines trading stories of the dents they'd had to patch and what crazy Grand Line shenanigans caused them. They'd taken an unnecessary amount of interest in his nipple lights too, so Amy had readily tuned them out. Luckily, she'd found something of a friend to talk to as well. "I haven't a clue," one of the sole female members of G5 replied, the woman sitting beside the pirate. She was rather masculine with sharp, angular features and a pair of scars that cut across her cheeks. One of her blue eyes was dulled with blindness and her marine uniform made her look like any of the men. Only her voice, soft but tinged with the gruffness everyone in G5 seemed to have, and her medium-length rusty hair gave her away. She wore a helmet reminiscent of a standard trench soldier that she usually stuffed her hair into and had a two-handed hammer strapped to her side. It certainly didn't sound like what I expect Caesar to sound like. "Oh," Amy asked, "and what do you expect Caesar to sound like, Toon?" "I'm not certain," Petunia, or Toon as she preferred to be called, replied. "Maybe something like, oh bloody me beaker's gone and cracked again. Guess I gotta go back to me calculations. Oh well, I suppose I'll throw it out on the pile of other cracked beakers and unchecked chemicals. I'm sure Newthen'll explode or Newthen." Amy felt a grin come to her face at Toon's fake accent. It was nice to have someone to talk to that didn't leer at her or go off on tangents about chemicals. Not that Amy wanted to interrupt the work Chopper, Grace, and Billy were doing inside considering the risk to the children. Nor could she play any instrument well enough to assist Brooke and Sunny. Speaking of, the chocolatier had no idea there were so many variations of Bing sake. Did they never get tired of it? Down below, Billy Zoro froze, his eyes furrowing. This change in demeanor caught the attention of the other fighters, each one perking up. Wah, the swords Doug muttered through the handle of his weapon. Wah wah wah. You know we can't understand you, Zoro. Amy reminded him. The man, Doug waved a wing to silence her, his head turning until he was staring at a point out toward the water to their right. He lowered his stance. A leg appeared out of the water, long and thin with a gray carapace and ending with a rounded tip. Another 2 legs like it followed along with a massive claw of the same color. A gargantuan crab climbed out of the cold water, but where the face would be was not that of a crab. It appeared like a hole from which water poured. What? Tune began, is that? Off the top of my head, Amy responded. I think I might be one of those cute little babies Caesar called for. A second crab emerged from the water, following in the path of the first. And there's a second one. Good, that leaves one for me. Down below, Billy Zoro stalked toward the first crab, his usual intimidation lost when he was just a large duck with a sword in his beak. Not that he didn't have some level of intimidation considering any creature effectively wielding a sword was dangerous. He just had less than usual. The sword's duck planted his copper-plated talons in the snow, blocking the scuttling path of the first crab. It turned its hold toward him, as if studying him. Billy Zoro tensed. Something long and thin shot from the hole, Billy Zoro responding instantly to jump and block it with Wado Ichimonji's blade. The force sent the man, duck flipping backward, unharmed. He spread his wings, slowing his momentum. Where he'd been, stretching out from inside the crab's exoskeleton, was the body and head of an eel. It was the same gray as the chitin and had wide, brown eyes and a mouth lined with sharp teeth. As if to show them off, its lower jaw unhinged and separated down the middle, multiplying its area and reach to show it could swallow the duck. Or any one of the pirates or marines for that matter, whole. In what world is that cute? Toon asked, getting to her feet and pulling out her hammer. I've got a crewmate that would probably think so, Amy laughed. She opened her umbrella, reducing her mass and catching the wind. The cold drafts were a little more difficult to navigate than more temperate climates, but the pirate had some very unusual talents for the use of her devil fruit. The blonde positioned herself over the first crab monster and closed her umbrella, increasing her mass and covering her legs and armament as she did so. 10,000 kilogram obsidian press. She smacked into the top of the crab's exoskeleton like a meteor, the sound of the impact echoing through the snow. The crab's legs drove into the earth, bending at their joints until the undercarriage hit the frozen ground. Amy smirked to herself, ready to take credit for first blood of the fight, but her smile fell as the creature tilted. The pirate's eyes widened as first one side's legs pulled themselves free before the others. Despite Amy maintaining her increased mass, the crab rose to its full height and hissed a renewed challenge, its voice compounded by the second. Wah wah, Billy Zoro smirked through his sword. Wah 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 wah. We can't understand you, Amy reminded him again. The crab shook, trying to dislodge the pirate riding atop its carapace, but Amy held fast. Apparently deciding that trying to shake her off that way was an exercise in futility, the eel head whipped upward and smacked itself against the top of its own hard body. Amy stared into its eye. You wanna go, ugly? It seemed to smile, a chill unrelated to the snow going down Amy's spine before sparks started to dance across the eel's body neck. Oh phoo. Her world turned a blinding white. The monster was sitting just outside the door, as if waiting for the group to step out of Caesar's lab. The first thing they noticed about it was the head of a mountain lion, though sized for something more akin to a hippo. Its body was more of a light brown compared to the dark yellow of the head, the near entirety covered in shaggy fur. Its front legs ended with massive claws tucked back so they were pointed at its body, the part against the ground flattened unnaturally along what would have been a curve otherwise. Finally, a single, massive bucktooth stuck out over its bottom lip, its point chipped. Hello? Jin tried. The creature blinked at them, its movements almost cat-like in the way its head tilted almost 90 degrees. You're not gonna attack us, yeah? The creature tilted its head the other way, as if hoping that seeing them from a different angle would explain it what it was looking. Sanji's boot tapped the floor, his one visible eye eyeing the beast warily as he considered the best way to take it down should it decide to threaten Nami and Ace. The creature's eyes went to Tay, one of its claws rising slightly to mimic Sanji's tapping. Another strange creature, Kinnaman observed, rubbing his beard with one hand. This one is new, Law said. I don't know that much about Velo's research, but I know this thing's bloodline was still in the experimental phases. I'm gonna call him Bucktooth, Ace announced, one little hand waving at the beast. Its eyes followed the hand, its head swinging back and forth slightly.
Bucktooth, huh? Jin muttered. No, Bucktooth. Ace corrected. Tooth sounds better in tooth.
Sanji and Jin both bit their tongues, memories of Nami's naming of eyelash coming to their minds. Do not grow attached, Law warned. Incomplete it may be, but it is still one of Velo's creations. We don't know what sort of instinct she implanted in its mind. It might be a pack animal. Or it could be the kind that tries to earn your trust before eating you. Nah, Bucktooth won't do that, Ace insisted. I can feel it. We aren't keeping it, Nami said before her son could suggest the possibility. Good or bad, we just don't have room for it on Sunny. But, if it doesn't attack us, then we won't attack it. You got that, Buck? Gao, the newly named Bucktooth seemed to reply. Nami still eyed it, taking a small step forward. Bucktooth responded by taking a small step back. Emboldened, Nami moved forward with a little more confidence, causing the creature to shuffle backward, allowing the group to exit the room. We should get back to Sunny fast, Nami announced as they stepped into the hallway, her navigational instincts telling her to turn right. I must find Momonosuke, Kaemin reminded them. Knowing our crew, the others probably found him by chance, Nami replied. Most likely Luffy. Law, how are you holding up? If you want me to teleport you, I'm afraid it won't be that simple, the warlord answered. Transporting myself within my rooms is trivial, but bringing along others, much less a group of this size, is not a feat I can pull off consecutively. It leaves me, I suppose, out of breath, is a decent enough comparison. If we were to come upon something, I would be a liability. Even moving this up one floor left me unable to effectively help against the slug. Is that so? Nami muttered. Jin glanced back, noting that Bucktooth was following them at a distance. But you do know the layout of the lab? Well enough to navigate it, Law confirmed. I have been living here for the past many months, after all. That makes things easier. Law, I want you to take the lead and get us out of here. Law nodded and stepped ahead. At the same time he did, Jin felt electrical signals in Bucktooth's brain pick up. The creature's head rose. Gao, Bucktooth called. Gao, what's gotten into him? Sanji questioned. A trapdoor opened beneath Law's feet. The warlord's eyes widened, the man unable to react in time before gravity dragged him downward into the dark. Law, Spotted Hat Guy, Magic Swordsman. The other pirates and Kinnaman called. As quickly as it appeared did the doors shut, leaving no sign that a rival supernova had ever stood on its mettle. Jin's eyes instantly combed the walls, the monk pointing to something ahead of them. There, he said. On wall. It's a visual den. Somebody's watching us. That's just perfect, Sanji groused. As if the monsters aren't bad enough, is it Velo? Or Caesar, Nami commented. Thoughts? I don't want any of us to get caught up in a booby trap and separated.
SNRK. Kaku tried to hold back a laugh but still received a side-eye from Jin. She said trap, he whispered his explanation. It was probably some inside joke the rest of them didn't understand. Jin rolled his eyes.
Let me see if I can fry wires in walls, Donna, the monk offered, avoiding the spot where Law had fallen in. Jin closed his eyes and laid his hand on the wall, the flow of electricity through the building's wires buzzing to life to his senses. Oh, that much power would be delicious, Rum whispered in his mind. The ambient charge in the air is fine and all, but the power moving through this system is something else. I suppose it would have to be for a building of this size. What would happen if I absorbed it? Jin thought. It would be replaced, Rum answered. Jin unable to tell if he was being completely truthful. Hundreds of electronics are constantly draining energy from the system, and you'd only be one more, like the difference between 200 ticks and 201. Then how can we prevent these traps from talking any of us? We have two options, Rum suggested. We could take the dismally slow way, following the wall and diverting the electricity for whichever traps we sense in our immediate vicinity. Assuming you sense them correctly, that is. You cannot trust me to divulge what I know, after all, Kukuku. And, other thought, kill the system. Jin felt Rum give the equivalent of a shrug. That would disable every trap's functionality as well as prevent whoever is observing us from continuing to do so. Assuming the owner has these connected to monitors and not a large visual den. Alright, Jin said aloud. I'm gonna kill all traps ahead of us, but it might be a bit bright. He extended his free hand to the side, a ball of electricity forming in his upward-facing palm. It crackled and sparked, growing slowly as Jin pulled more and more power out of the system to power it. Periodically, it would shrink slightly as Jin compressed it, working to pack as much electricity into the space as he could. Ace watched in awe at this show. His desire to have his own cool fruit powers growing at the scene. Jin nodded to himself after a minute, the ball rivaling his head in size. Zeus palm, he muttered, slamming the sphere into the wall. Almost instantly, the lights in the hallway popped and shattered, plunging the group into darkness. The wires in the wall burned at the sudden influx, seeing the metal with ash. This destruction was not just local, a series of pops echoing outward as the power surge ripped through the building, destroying bulbs and old wires alike. The constant hum of the building's systems ground to a halt with a shoom, leaving them in eerie silence. Said silence only made Rum's cackling laughter sound louder in Jin's head. That was awesome, Uncle Jin. Ace grinned. The monk's lips pressed into a line, the man not needing observation to feel the burning glare Nami leveled at him through the darkness. Hey, Jin? Sanji questioned. Yeah, Sanji? I don't think this was your best plan. Yeah, you're probably right. Did it think it'd bust the lights, too? He frowned. This is what y'all wanted, ain't it? Indubitably, Rum replied. Jin could feel his self-satisfied smirk. Such a shame you do not possess the ability to sense creatures in the dark. Not to the extent that observation haki would allow, anyway. Kukuku. Asshat. At least we don't have to worry about the traps now, Nami sighed. Alright, we might as well get moving. We'll get nothing done just standing around here. Go! Bucktooth offered from behind them, as if in agreement. Nami ignored it. They could not move quickly on account of the dark. Each individual with observation could tell Jin was embarrassed and ashamed of his stunt's ramifications, the man having opted to take the lead in case they came upon a creature less amicable than Bucktooth was proving to be. Said beast didn't seem bothered by the dark, following them easily by scent and sound but never getting closer. The group crept through the hallways carefully, glancing around corners and opening each door in the hopes of finding another staircase. They tried to avoid using light lest to give them away, only lighting their way in bursts using Jin's lightning or Sanji, fire, neither of which was steady enough to rival a handy flashlight. Each door they tried held only small labs, one containing the eviscerated bodies of half a dozen workers. Nami made sure to keep Ace from looking into that one as they passed. Bucktooth sniffed it, glancing between the gore and the group sitting to ignore what would have been an easy meal. The next door led to a large room. It was nowhere near as large as the mania room, but it was certainly bigger than most of the others they'd passed. Something substantial, little more than a shadow in the gloom, sat at the far end, obscuring half of another door. The pirates and samurai shared looks, sneaking into the room. Whatever the thing was, it did not breathe. The air in the room was stale, smelling faintly of mildew and pine. The pirates fanned out, careful to keep their footsteps muted lest they alert something to their presence. It was, after all, better to be safe than sorry. Grr! Bucktooth broke the silence, spreading its front claws and crouching to growl at the shadow. Nami and Kaku's desperate attempts to shush it failed. The thing blocking the doorway shifted, a mighty crack echoing through the room. The pirates had to squint to tell what had happened. The shadow had split down the middle and, much to Sanji's horror, a pair of ovular, semi-transparent wings rose upward. A loud bob bump coincided with rusty fluid filling a lattice of tubes in the wings before they started buzzing. Bug! Sanji screamed, bodily flinging himself the other direction. The vibrating wings caused the shadow to shake, further cracking its outer shell as the old exoskeleton fell away. 6 legs stretched free, blood-red eyes unblinking and a proboscis sampling the air at the end of its pipette-like mouth, as a pair of razor serrations on the front legs carved lines in the tile floor. Before them stood a 4-foot-tall cicada. Never before have I seen an insect of such growth, Kinnaman commented, having to yell to be heard over the bug's constant buzz. He drew one of his katanas. Still, despite its size, insects are paltry foes. Let me show this bug fate o its kind when they stand against us, Jin offered, building another ball of electricity between his hands. 10,000-volt, lightning shot. He threw the sphere, the attack crashing into the gargantuan bug with a peal of thunder and a screech from the creature. The humans had to avert their eyes from the flash. When they looked back, there was little more than a blackened husk, the seared wings collapsing in on themselves as they turned to ash. That was boring, Ace whined. Please don't jinx us, Kaku whispered to the universe. Please don't jinx us, please don't. Crack, damn it. The fried husk split down the middle, the pirates, samurai, and Bucktooth watching in odd disgust as a new pair of wings rose out of the remains. Again, the wings' lattices filled with blood and dried instantly, but the buzz they made sounded different than before. Where before it had been the standard hum like that of a million insects, now it sounded closer to one standing beside an electrified fence. As if to punctuate that point, a jolt of electricity jumped between the wings. The massive cicada shucked off the rest of its old exoskeleton and lowered its stance, a little bit bigger than before. Sanji made a noise that no letters could put into word. It grew back, Ace observed aloud. Cool, oh, this thing rapidly evolves, Nami sighed. Isn't that just perfect? The bug shot forward. So, what are we going to do, sir? Tashigi asked, still eyeing the pirates warily. Her sword hand never moved more than an inch from the handle of her weapon, as if the marine captain was just waiting for an excuse to unsheath Shigur. Smoker frowned beside her. If what Tri-Horn said was true, and he had no reason to suspect it was not, then there was little else for them to accomplish within the old lab. Let us return to our ships, the white-haired man suggested. We have nothing to gain by standing around. But big monsters. Mary whined. Mary, I swear, Usopp swore, pinching the bridge of his long nose. We need to meet up with the others and get out of here. I'm not happy to say I agree, Tashigi said. We need to work out our plan for getting the children off this island sooner rather than later. Children? Coby demanded. What do you mean children? She means the children your crewmates stumbled across and released during their escape, when a group of us re-entered the lab. Looking for your group, I might add, We left the children in the care of our men and the straw hats that opted to remain with your ship. They could be attacked at any moment. Captain, we need to get to the ship. That's fine with me, Luffy nodded. Let's. The humming of the lights rose for only a second before a sort of pulse seemed to rush through the system, said lights brightening to uncomfortable levels before the bulbs shattered. Glass rained down on the pirates and marines, the group covering their heads from the debris. Everything was dark when they opened their eyes, finding it possible but difficult to see each other in the hallway. Some were easier, such as Smoker, Mary, and Luffy on account of their white hair or the pink lizard around their neck. Others, like Robin with her dark hair and clothing, were harder to see. The hell? Mary questioned, ignoring Usopp's cry of language. Who turned out the lights? This may be another step in a plan to eliminate us, Robin suggested far too calmly. Based on the lack of mechanical ambiance after the outage, we can deduce that the climate control systems are no longer operational as well. If we do not regress forthwith, we may suffer hypothermia as the laboratory's heat escapes into the Arctic conditions outside, leaving us at increased risk. What's that mean? Luffy asked. It means we will freeze to death if we do not get out of here. The lizard around the pirate's neck yelled, its horned head rising to glare at the captain. Wow, Momo. Luffy laughed. You can understand Robin's smart stuff? I thought you were stupid? My name is Momonosuke. You buffoon, poot. The samurai's legs coughed. Does anyone else feel a breeze? Everyone be quiet, Smoker ordered, filing away the talking lizard and legs as something to be addressed another time. We are not alone here. Not all alone. Usopp squeaked. Tashigi took the excuse to draw her sword. Is it another dragon? Please tell me it's not another dragon. 3 dragons is enough for one island, thank you. It's that thing from before, isn't it? Mary asked, pulling her corundum hammers from her belt loops. Most likely, Smoker confirmed. He spread his arms, smoke pouring from his hands to add a haze to the air, above us.
Everyone moved, the space where Luffy had been filling with the upside-down body of the creature from before as its beak stabbed the floor. Luffy lashed out with a gum-gum whip, but the creature pulled itself free and practically faded into nothingness, leaving only air to take Luffy's kick.
We must be careful, Tashigi muttered. This creature may be clever enough to lay some form of booby trap. SRNK. Mary stifled a laugh, her surrogate uncle sending her a confused look. She said trap. Usopp, behind you, Coby warned. The sniper ducked, just barely avoiding having a new hole put through the back of his skull. He swung Kabuto like a bat but hit nothing as the creature, once more, vanished into the darkness. What is this thing? It's so fast. It's some kind of bird, Smoker replied, his focus on where the creature's movements disrupted his cloud of smoke. He growled, his jute slashing through the air to the same effect as the pirate sniper's slingshot. I caught a glimpse of it when it attacked us before. So it's a bird that relies on stealth? Mary questioned. Oh, hell yes, we're on a snipe hunt. What in Terabang a snipe in Terabang? Luffy asked, stars in his eyes. These things were back in Fuchsia. My brothers told me to catch one once cuz they're super tasty, but I never found any. Aw man, Ace would love it. The other pirates did not have time to correct Luffy's apparent interpretation of his own past as the so-named snipe launched itself toward the center of the group. Coby rolled away from its stabbing beak, Hishokusha swinging out to jostle feathers. Robin crossed her arms, half a dozen hands blooming out of the ground but none fast enough to snag the creature by the feet before it disappeared back into the darkness. I can't believe we found a snipe, Coby huffed, letting out something akin to an angry snort unlike anything a human could typically make. And, of course, it had to be artificially created and completely murderous, of all the things. You can moan about it later, Smoker snapped. His arm shot out, catching the snipe's beak between the rods of his jute, its point inches from Tashigi's throat. The female marine gasped, swinging Shigur toward its long neck, but the bird simply vanished into the gloom again, leaving behind only the afterimage of 3 feathers from atop its narrow head and a flash of muted yellow and red from its beak. I think we have more pressing concerns, try Horn. The outside world is scary, the lizard around Luffy's neck bemoaned. Poot, the legs offered. What is this strange breeze? Why are these things even here in Terabang? Usopp demanded, loading a seed into Kabuto's pouch. Was this Velo woman just making these things for the heck of it? According to Trafalgar law, Velo is a member of the beast pirates under the Emperor Kaido, Smoker replied, his head swiveling to follow the movements of the snipe that he could feel in his smoke. Kaido in Terabang, the lizard, Momonosuke, if Smoker remembered correctly, echoed. Then creatures like this may be running wild throughout Wano. Wano is outside our jurisdiction, Tashigi muttered, gritting her teeth. Velo cannot get away with this, but if she reaches the country's shores. We'll get her eventually, Smoker said. We have to get ourselves out of this, first, and that means mounting this bird's head on the wall in my office. You can have the head, Smokey, Luffy said, licking his lips, but my crew gets the meat. I don't think it has much. Coby trailed off, shaking his head. You know what? Never mind. Let's just hunt this snipe before it hunts us. Law hated slides. To be fair, he hated a lot of things. Amusement parks, roller coasters, silence, celestial dragons, the color pink, bread. Oh, how he hated bread. But even if the warlord liked slides or roller coasters, he had a feeling his current descent into darkness would not be fun anyway. His body bounced between walls, the near vertical tube he found himself in both cold and slick. Roo! He tried only for his feet to slam into a buildup of ice. It cracked and gave way under Law's weight and momentum, but the jolt still caused his half-formed room to dissipate. He broke through several such sheets of ice on the way down, grunting and cursing all the way. At least it was cold, so that should negate some of the bruising. Finally, after several minutes, the tube curved, the man breaking through one final sheet of ice before he was spit out into a cavern, his body spinning along the slick floor before slamming into something. He grunted, pulling himself to his feet. Ice lined the walls, making the rocks shimmer in the dim lighting that came from holes in the ceiling far above. Stalactites of ice, one of which had stopped his uncontrolled momentum, had formed under these holes, reaching upward like a dozen spiked fingers. Water glimmered on the far side of the cave, forming a pool the warlord suspected was connected to the ocean. There were two piles of rocks containing what looked like large pearls and broken human bones sitting so they were on opposite sides of the water. What bones weren't part of the piles were in 3 locations at the edge of the water, one very clearly containing a human skull. The silence was deafening, broken only slightly by the slow drip. 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 Of droplets falling onto the frozen stalactites. He frowned. Room, he intoned, the blue sphere expanding from his palm, his breath condensing in the air as he spoke. His frown deepened as he noticed that the ceiling was too far above for his room to reach, eliminating his chance of simply teleporting himself out. To his back and sides were nothing but solid rock, proving his regular teleportation would be only a death sentence if he tried. Something rumbled, the surface of the pool rippling as it was disturbed. Law's hand automatically settled on Kikoku's handle, the man ready to draw it at any moment. Come out, he ordered, knowing that most of Velo's experiments were smart enough to pick up on intent if not language itself. Maybe they were not smart enough to be considered sentient. If they were, that still wasn't something that mattered to the warlord. But they were certainly clever enough to be dangerous enemies in combat. Come on, I don't have all day. The water in the pool rippled again, Law drawing Kikoku slowly. The first thing to come out of the water was purple-blue in color, its hulk almost undulating as it climbed onto the frozen floor. Its base form was that of a walrus, though it was larger than any walrus Law had ever seen. Rather than 2 tusks, this creature had 6, 3 on either side of its mouth with serrated edges facing the pirate. In addition, it had 4 flippers rather than 2 as well as the regular tail one would expect from such a creature. Another tusk, though much more like the horn of the mythical unicorn, stuck out from the top of its snout, curved with a swirl similar to the narwhal. 2 similar beasts climbed out of the water, one on either side, but their one difference was the lack of an upper horn and being slightly smaller in size. Law concluded that the one in the center must be a male while the other 2 were most likely female. As if in response to his thoughts, the hornless creatures separated from the one on the center, each taking a position before one of the piles of rocks with the pearls. No, not pearls. Eggs. Of course, Velo would want to breed more monstrosities. Why wouldn't she? Caesar had been selling them off, after all. I don't have time for this, the warlord complained. Go back to the ocean and leave me be. The horned walrus licked his lips, slapping his 4 flippers against the frozen ground. Whhhhaaoo, the creature bellowed, pulling its tail up and out of the water. It balanced itself on its forward flippers and charged with a speed Law never suspected a beast of such weight or girth to ever be capable of since it lacked legs. Legs, however, were not a concern for the walrus as it ripped up chunks of the frozen ground with its tusks and threw them forward. Room. Law yelled, his personal area forming quickly enough for him to teleport out of the way of the incoming attack. The rocks smacked into the ice with a crack, shattering and unleveling the area where the warlord had stood. He wobbled, the split in the ice reaching under him prompting the man to teleport himself further than before. So that's how it's going to be, he sighed. Fine, I guess I'll just have to use you as a pair of stairs. He leaned forward, planting his feet before charging forward. The walrus bellowed and turned to face the human, Law spinning out of the way of another chunk of ice before lashing out with Kikoku. The blade easily cut through the walrus' right-hand tusks, severing them at the base. Said walrus didn't seem to notice, flipping forward off its flippers to swing its tail downward. Law raised his sword, catching the attack on the flat of the blade. He grit his teeth as the full weight of the blubber-filled walrus caused the ice under his feet to shatter. He would not lose to such a simple creature, however. He was a warlord, a supernova, the captain of the Heart Pirates. Trafalgar Law would not die to a mutant walrus in some random cave. Amputation. Law pushed, forcing the mammal into the air so his sword had the space it needed to move. The blade cut through the beast but drew no blood, The walrus smart enough to recognize that this, at least, was not how things usually worked in the world. A moment later, the walrus separated into parts, sliced from head to tail multiple times. Law smirked, releasing Kikoku with one hand to gesture ow, and tagged. Wow! The marine creature practically squeaked, the females of the species letting out their own cries of worry. One of them charged forward, Law turning to it as soon as it entered his room. Tact, he called, lifting the creature off the ground to where its flippers could get traction. It flailed in the air. Now leave me alone. Another push of his hand threw the female from his room, the marine beast crashing into the far wall before splashing into the water. Law turned his attention back to the male, arranging the strips of living creature into a staircase. Once complete, he pressed it against the wall and almost casually climbed it, much to the horror of the walruses. High enough now, the warlord held out his palm and called forth another room. This one extended over the cave's ceiling to the open air above. He latched onto a snowflake in his senses. Shambles. And he was somewhere else, his shoes sinking into the snow. Law breathed a sigh of relief and, uncaring for the fates of Velo's monsters, he set out to get his bearings. Separated from the straw hats, now would be the time to search for his heart that he'd had to give up when Caesar demanded it. He stopped, his eyes widening. If Monet left already, then she would already have retrieved her own heart. Law had no doubt that she would take the opportunity to snag both Velo's and his own if given the chance. He took off toward the lab, praying he was not too late. Who knew what Monet or any of the rest of the family might do with his heart? Noble's nutsack. Caesar cursed as the monitors before him fried, smoke wafting from their burned-out circuitry as the lights shut off. He'd managed to separate Law from the pirates he'd chosen to ally with, hopefully for Velo's pets to finish him off while he was alone. But then one of the pirates had to go and destroy his lab systems. That was simply one more thing to add to the list of things that needed to be repaired before he could declare his laboratory back to full functionality after this disaster of a day. Assuming, of course, that he could muster the manpower after the loss of all his stupid minions. At least now he didn't have to watch them die one by one on the monitors. Maybe he'd get lucky and one or two of them would survive this ordeal. At this rate, he would need to abandon the island altogether and relocate. Starting over would be a pain, but it wouldn't be impossible. And he could even take the survivors with him. Any island with any sense of technology and medicine would grovel at his feet for the chance to host a renowned scientist such as Caesar Clown, no matter what sort of reputation he might have in the wider world. Sure, that might make it more likely for the Marines to track down his whereabouts, but they had no proof to whatever crimes he may or may not have committed or what criminals he may or may not have been in league with. Of course, that plan hinged on ensuring that none of the Marines on the island now made it back to their headquarters to report on his actions to date. Damn those pirates, he muttered, a fist pounding the tabletop. A thought struck him. He'd used his system to call on Smiley, but he could not ensure the start of Shinokuni without the monitors. He'd have no way of knowing if and when his own little pet ate his special candy. Not unless he went himself, exposing himself to the elements and the possibility of Shinokuna's effects. Damn them and damn Law too, the lying pyrite. He paused, reaching into his lab coat to pull out the heart Law had given him during their last interaction. He studied it, the organ still beating but much slower than was normal. It was large, cold to the touch, and nearly too big to fit in his palm. At the time, the warlord had told him that it belonged to the pirate hunter, but now Caesar had reason to doubt those words. The other hearts in his collection were surely gone already. How long had Law been planning to betray him? Was he somehow in league with Monet? Had these Straw Hat pirates come here at Law's behest, or at Monet's? Did the Marines play a role in this betrayal? Who did this heart really belong to? Questions without answers piled up, and Caesar hated having questions without answers. Soon enough, none of those questions would be important, however. Not after everyone who had wronged him and was still here was dead. He could plan his revenge on Monet and Velo once he had escaped. That being said, he couldn't take off without activating Shinokuni and getting hold of a ship that could withstand the weather of the New World should he need sleep before he reached another island. The Marine's vessel would do nicely in that regard. Leaving the heart on the table, it was useless to him, after all. Caesar departed from the room. One of Velo's creatures with the basic body structure of a bear roared at him from atop a mound of bodies, but Caesar barely acknowledged its challenge. "Begone, Ursa," he ordered, an unnatural coldness in his tone. The bear did not accept the suggestion, turning to face him and snapping its jaws in challenge. "Very well then. Vacuum." With a wave of his hand, the scientist removed the oxygen from the air around the bear's head. Its eyes widened, fur bristling to become sharp as if that would help it. Too slowly for the man's liking, the bear kneeled over and asphyxiated, leaving the hall empty of living beings save the master of the island. "That's what I thought." Caesar floated through the hallways in this manner, suffocating whatever monsters felt brave enough or foolish enough to get in his way. None of them presented any challenge to the logia, the man finally positioning himself at the cave-in that had been Monet's favorite entrance and exit. The debris had not been cleared, They had not been a priority with the threat of intruders, but he could feel the wind coming between the stones and that was enough for him. Dispersing into gas, Caesar slipped between the rocks and out into the cave where the walls were merely cracked. The winds howled this high up, blowing snow hither and yon, but such force was a paltry obstacle for the scientist. Another wave of his hand made the air around him still, his gaseous body floating easily through the wind. He could see little through the snow, but he knew the maps of the island well enough to know where the burning lands were in relation to the laboratory. He turned slightly and urged himself forward. The white landscape slowly gave way to the flickering red of the lands forever altered by the fleet admiral. The freezing winds shifted to a warm updraft, easing Caesar's already minor strain as he flew through the air. From above, his eyes quickly found everything he'd been looking for. He floated downward, placing himself between the massive zone and the candy he'd had his men prepare. Said candy, a 20-foot-tall sphere striped dark and light blue, sat in a boat beached on the edge of the lake. On the opposite side sat a sleigh filled with fruits. Caesar eyed the sleigh for a moment, estimating the time it would take him to fly to it, and found his calculations to be satisfactory.
Smiley itself was tall enough to be mistaken for a mountain, if one expected a mountain to move or have a vibrant red-violet coloration similar to a dark ruby.
It was shaped like an axolotl, complete with a mouth, glowing yellow eyes, legs, external gills, and a caudal fin. Pieces of its body drooped and fell like melting plastic, splattering on the semi-molten ground before gaining their own glowing eyes and moving just enough to fuse back into the hole via one of the legs. Smiley did not notice Caesar's approach until the gas man lowered himself directly before the zone's face. Smiley, Caesar called, not having to try hard to feign excitement. He truly did like Smiley more than most of his minions. Oh Smiley, I have a snack for you, come, follow me. Smiley made a noise Caesar chose to accept as assent, the man floating backward toward the massive piece of candy in the boat. The behemoth plodded after him, waddling along through ood in its way. Smiley's focus shifted from Caesar to the so-called candy as soon as it was in sight, the beans waddled becoming more of a gallop. Swiftly and without needing to be ordered to, it snapped up the offering and hummed. Good boy, Caesar praised even as Smiley's hum became more of a whine, its body starting to foam and bubble. Good boy, oh Smiley, I'm so proud of you, change form and spread now. Cover the island like you once did and destroy my enemies. Shilalolo. Shalalalolo. Amy smacked into the top of the crab's exoskeleton like a meteor, the sound of the impact echoing through the snow. The crab's legs drove into the earth, bending at their joints until the undercarriage hit the frozen ground. She smirked to herself, ready to take credit for first blood of the fight, but her smile fell as the creature tilted. The pirate's eyes widened as first one side's legs pulled itself free before the others. Despite Amy maintaining her increased mass, the crab rose to its full height and hissed a renewed challenge, its voice compounded by the second. Wah wah, Billy Zorro smirked through his sword. Wah 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 wah. We can't understand you, Amy reminded him again. The crab shook, trying to dislodge the pirate riding atop its carapace, but Amy held fast. Apparently deciding that trying to shake her off that way was an exercise in futility, the eel head whipped upward and smacked itself against the top of its own hard body. Amy stared into its eye. You wanna go, ugly? It seemed to smile, a chill unrelated to the snow going down Amy's spine before sparks started to dance across the eel's body neck. Oh phoo! Her world turned a blinding white. Amy screamed as the crab monster thing's eel body released a blast of electricity, its omnidirectional attack catching Amy before she had a chance to move. Her muscles seized, throwing her smoking form backward off the beast's carapace. Baker sis, Frankie yelled, shoving Marines aside as he ran toward the mutant that had just attacked his crewmate. He was not alone as Billy Zorro shot forward with all the speed of a member of Alabasta's supersonic duck squadron. He spread his borrowed wings, interposing himself between the literally smoking blonde and the cold earth. Marines, Toon ordered. We have a code 52571. Your orders are to assist the pirates in taking down these monsters before they can reach the kids. The other members of G5 glanced at each other. Technically, no one here actually had the authority to order around any of the rest. Neither Smoker nor Tashigi had left anyone in charge. Despite the giant monsters, they hesitated. Toon sighed and pointed at the crabs, the other hand hiding her face. She wasn't embarrassed because what she was about to say, but because she knew it would work on them because it would work on her. G5, smash. Let's go wild, the Marines cheered, drawing their weapons and charging across the snow. The crab eels roared, skittering sideways toward them. To be fair to the Marines, they showed no fear charging the monsters that could eat any of them in a single bite. Frankie, however, outpaced all of them, firing his right hand toward the first creature with a strong right. Its eel head whipped around, its mouth opening to snap up the cyborg's fist the same way a fish eats a fishing lure. Frankie smirked, digging his heels into the snow and retracting the chain until it pulled taut. He felt his mechanical fingers wrap around one of the beast's sturdy teeth. "I've got this one super hooked," the pirate called. "Go get." The creature wrenched its head upward, Frankie gasping as his feet carved through the snow. He grit his teeth and reeled again, leaning back so far his bag nearly touched the ground. Frankie quickly lost this tug of war. The crab eel's greater height and dexterity allowing it to lash the chain and drag the metal man into the air. "Bro!" a number of the Marines yelled, diving for the man's legs. 2 managed to reach him, 1 for each leg, and another 2 managed to get their arms around their comrades' waists. The eel crab didn't care, whipping its head to the side to drag them all off their feet. "Wah!" Zoro quacked, Amy, in her now soot-stained clothing, on his back as he charged toward the first crab. He jumped, flapping his wings to get over the second's massive claw that cratered the ground where he'd been heading. "Take care of ugly number 2 over there," Amy told him, her hockey swirling up her scarred arms and over her umbrella. "I have a couple pounds of flesh to take from this one." Zoro accepted that, harumphing as she jumped from his back. The sword's duck turned, running alongside the extended claw toward the weakest joint. Spinning, the duck brought Watto down, air and black mist rippling around the blade. The creature jerked its arm back, the sword scraping over the chitin carapace. Zoro kicked off before the flat of the blade could get caught. The sword's duck growled, throwing a pair of flying slashes toward the creature's face. The eel head and neck retreated into the shell, the sharpened wind cutting an X into the side of the chitin. The duck's eyes narrowed as, before his very eyes, the gashes filled and repaired. Despite the sword-filled beak, Zoro smirked. "Don't worry, Duck Hunter," the Marines called as they came to stand beside the body-swap pirate, using the nickname they decided for him. "We're the Marines of G5, the loudest, rowdiest, and toughest of the bunch. That thing isn't getting anywhere near the kids or our ships." Billy Zoro rolled his eyes at the pronouncement. A shadow fell over the group, the duck swinging the sword in his beak upward before the humans could react. Claw met blade in a rush of air that blew away all the snow at their feet. Undaunted by their newest near-death experience, the Marine grunts jumped, climbing onto the crab-like body as the pressure eased. "Wah!" Zoro yelled. "Wah wah wah wah? Can't understand you, Duck Hunter." The pirate dragged a wing down his borrowed face. He silently cursed their intervention before running toward the legs and underbelly of crab number 2. Meanwhile, crab number 1 was suffering its own assault. Its head and body seemed to act independently from each other, the former swinging Frankie and his buddies around while the latter tried to keep the others around it from attacking. This attempt, however, was little more than an annoyance to Amy as she shot through the air.
"Time to crack this crab like an egg," the chocolatier called, flipping forward as she folded her umbrella and reinforced it with both her kilo powers and her hockey. She increased her mass and fell, swinging her umbrella down on one of the legs of the crab body. Obsidian mallet. Her weapon smashed into the joint, cracking the exoskeleton and bending the limb the wrong way. The eel crab screeched, releasing Frankie's arm in the process, causing the cyborg and the Marines holding onto him to go flying off into the snow. The eel head whipped around to stare at the blonde, the body extending its broken leg until it was straight. With a sickening pop, the joint realigned and the chitin began to heal. "I hope you don't think that will be enough to scare me," Amy sneered, hitting the ground with enough force to crater it. She had the crab eel's attention now, the creature swinging one of its claws down toward her. She lifted her hockey-coated umbrella, tanking the hit with relative ease. "You aren't alone," Toon yelled, swinging her hammer downward. The chitin around the claw creaked as it was pinned between the weapons. A moment later, it cracked down the middle. Like cracking a boiled egg, Amy dropped her umbrella and reached into the split. She planted her feet and pulled. With a yell, a tensing of her devil fruit augmented muscles, and several further cracks of the shell, the blonde pirate ripped away half of the crab eel's claw carapace through sheer strength. The point of the pincer exoskeleton stabbed into the earth as Amy dug her fingers into the soft underflesh that had been hidden beneath. The eel head screamed something in a pitch nearly too high to hear, its neck shooting downward toward Toon. She spun, interposing her hammer between herself and the expanded mouth, but it still scooped her off the ground even if it couldn't swallow her. "This bastard needs a breath mint," she yelled, doing everything she could to not lose her hammer to the crab eel's gullet. It sparked. "No, no, no." Frankie radical beam. A pillar of light smashed into the crab eel's neck, the monster cutting off its electrical attack in pain. Toon barely kept her grip on her hammer as the thing's foul breath threatened to blow her away. The eel head spun, its eyes focusing on the lone cyborg. "Yeah, that's right. Super look at me, you pot-boiled bastard." A BM, Marines yelled. The creature raised its claws, one of them dragging Amy along for the ride, in preparation to crush the pirate shipwright. Frankie only grinned, running forward into the crab's guard. "Don't forget about me, you overgrown sushi," Amy shouted, peeling away more and more of the crab eel's outer margin before it could grow back. She was nearly to the carpus, the crab's wrist, and she was determined to rid this monster of one of its main weapons. The carpus was the smallest point of the crab's arm,
nearly thin enough for Amy to get her arms around, but she didn't need to strain that far.
Reeling back one of her hockey-covered arms, Amy drove it into the center of the carpus. The soft flesh parted around her hand as she buried her arm up to the elbow. With a cry of exertion, the blonde chocolatier ripped half the carpus away.
The crab eel screamed. "I don't know what you're doing," Toon yelled from the beast's mouth, but he doesn't like it. "He's gonna like this even less," Amy replied, wrapping her arms around the remaining part of the wrist. She squeezed, giving the worst, and only, hug of the crab eel's life until the muscle fibers could not take the strain and tore. The claw came off and fell to the icy ground. Screech! Toon and her hammer launched from the mouth as the creature reeled in pain, skittering away as best it could. Marines screamed, barely avoiding the legs they had been trying to grapple up to that point. Amy hit the ground and reclaimed her umbrella, a satisfied smirk on her face. "If only we had a lot of butter," the weightless woman grinned. "I think that's a little more impressive," Toon muttered, pointing toward the other crab as Bizoro landed. 3 of crab number 2's legs severed at their bases. Unable to support half its weight, the crab toppled, throwing up a huge wave of snow with its own scream. "Damn, Duck Hunter," the Marines chorused, stars in their eyes. "That was so cool." "Show off," Amy muttered, rolling her eyes. "I ripped off a claw with my bare hands. I don't need a sword." "He doesn't super have hands at the moment," Frankie pointed out. "Shut up, you bag of bolts," one of Frankie's Marine buddies muttered. "Does anyone else see that?" "See what?" He pointed his sword toward the carpus Amy had severed, the tan white flesh there wiggling. The crab eel started to shrink, its mass shifting and changing as it grew a new claw from rest of its body. The other creature mirrored this, new legs growing from the bases of the old. "That's just not fair," Amy whined. "Alright, let's go for the head, then." The fried husk split down the middle, the pirates, samurai, and Bucktooth watching in awed disgust as a new pair of wings rose out of the remains. Again, the wings' lattices filled with blood and dried instantly, but the buzz they made sounded different than before. Where before it had been the standard hum like that of a million insects, now it sounded closer to one standing beside an electrified fence. As if to punctuate that point, a jolt of electricity jumped between the wings. The massive cicada shucked off the rest of its old exoskeleton and lowered its stance, a little bit bigger than before. Sanji made a noise that no letters could put into word. "It grew back," Ace observed aloud. "Cool, oh, this thing rapidly evolves," Nami sighed. "Isn't that just perfect?" The bug shot forward. The pirates dove either way, the cicada's serrated raptorial legs slicing through the air as the buzz of its wings made the pirate's bones shake from the vibrations. Nami jumped back with Ace in her arms, staying as far from the fight as she could. "Gaw!" Bucktooth growled, planting its legs while guarding the area between the bug and the mother-son pair. "I know not what the creature says," Kinnaman commented as he drew one of his swords, "but I will assume that we are in agreement against this gargantuan insect." "It's not going to let us just pass," Nami muttered. "Let's make quick work of this and keep moving." Tempest kick. White tiger, Kaku yelled, flipping forward to launch 2 slashes toward the insect. It turned toward his voice, serrated limbs cutting through the attack. The cicada opened its mandibles, a ball of electricity gathering in its mouth. "That's my attack," Jin shouted, flashing forward to insert his arm into the ball of lightning without fear. He drew the bug's attack into himself, his edges turning fuzzy as the new influx messed with his logia constitution. His electric wings spread behind him, the black sheen of his armament covering the electric yellow. His hands grabbed the mandibles, his fingers and palms similarly covered in hockey to keep the bug from cutting through his lightning body. "Give it hell." "Hell memories," Sanji called. Flambe shot, Tempest kick, standing execution. Foxfire style. Flaming flash. Gaw! The 4 other fighters fell on their foe. Fire, slashes, flaming slashes, and teeth and claws cut through the bug's exoskeleton with varying levels of success. Particularly, Kaku's kick and Kinnaman's cut severed the creature from either side, the latter charring its insides along its path. There was a horrific squelching noise as the head of the insect separated, its thorax spasming. The pirates jumped away, letting the life drain from the creature. "That did it, right?" Sanji asked with a hitch in his voice. "Oh gross," Ace said, his voice suggesting more intrigue than disgust. His little hand pointed toward the head and thorax that continued to wobble. Both nearly exploded, 2 cicadas the same size emerging from the severed pieces. They were smaller than the one before by about half but bore all the same adaptations. Their wings sparked, buzzing to life as they took to the air. "Now there's 2 of them in Terabang," Jin demanded. "Come on." "Wait for it," Kaku muttered. As if on cue, the bugs belched fire. "There it is." "Fire now, 2 in Terabang," Sanji yelled. Tempest kick, Kaku began. "No," Nami warned, causing the ex-agent's kick to go awry. The cicadas buzzed, shifting in the air as they studied the creatures below them. "We cut it in half and that made it multiply," It's adapting to whatever we used to kill the last one. Then how are we supposed to kill it? I don't know yet, the young mother admitted. If we keep cutting it up, though, then there's a good chance it will just make smaller and smaller bugs until it's a swarm. We must increase the temperature, Kinnaman suggested. One of the bugs dive-bombed him, forcing the half-man to cut through the fire breath with his sword. Using the smokescreen its attack caused, the creature landed on his shoulder and jabbed its proboscis into his skin. The samurai barely had time to flinch before the cicada mutant sent a surge of electricity through his legless body. Meanwhile, the other dove for Kaku, its raptorial legs swinging down. Kaku raised his swords, catching the serrated growths before they could reach his skin. From that, he estimated that these newest bugs were a little bigger than his base form. With that realization, he grew into his man-beast form for the extra height and muscle it provided. Nose pistol. He launched his head forward, nailing the creature in one of its unblinking eyes. It screeched and pulled back, the man lashing forward with one of his swords without thinking, bisecting the creature down the middle. The two pieces writhed, prompting Kaku to jump backward. As had happened previously, the halves each spawned a new cicada half as big as the one Kaku had cut in half. These, however, had a new adaptation in the form of a sharp horn growing from between its eyes. Oops. How are we supposed to kill these things if they just come back stronger? Jin questioned, smacking the one on Kinnaman off his shoulder with a giant fly swatter made of hockey-coated lightning. Off the floor. Bucktooth pounced, his chipped tooth scraping against the bug's exoskeleton as his claws tore the wings to shreds. The mammalian mutant yelped as the insect shocked him, forcing Bucktooth back with a gout of flame. I think, the samurai began with a flinch, that we must reduce them to such a state that there are no remains for their progeny to emerge from. Great, the monk muttered. Even in times of crisis, he talks like Robin.
We just gotta make the buggies go poof. Ace said with a clap. The old buggy parts are like eggs, right? So just make sure there aren't eggs.
Isn't my boy so smart? Nami cooed, squeezing the toddler in her arms. That's great and all, Kaku said, blocking a horn charge from one of the newest spawns while its twin went to chase after Sanji. But aren't these things, immune to fire and lightning now in Terabang? They've gotta have a limit. Jin called over Sanji's terrified screaming. He grinned. If these things scare Sanji so much, let's just wait till he overheats and burns them all up. That sounds like Salmon Uncle Pervy Cook would do, Ace laughed.
Get away, get away, get away. Sanji cried, launching himself into the air with Skywalk. The horned cicada followed him, launching fire and lightning from its mouth. I'll take you out here and now, you bug from hell. Diable Hambi, Konkase. The chef's falling leg smashed into the top of the insect that had been chasing him, fire engulfing the both of them. The bug in question let out a sound like a boiling kettle, the heat of Sanji's kick overpowering its heat resistance until the whole thing shriveled and caught fire. It gave a final, ee, before crumpling to ash, leaving only the empty husk behind. No new mutant emerged.
That was a pretty light show, Black Leg, Kaku hollered, his swords holding his own horned cicada at bay. Care to do it again? Deal with the bug yourself, Square Nose, Sanji, Nami called. Get rid of the other bugs, please. Yes, Nami Swan. According to Trafalgar law, Velo is a member of the Beast Pirates under the Emperor Kaido, Smoker replied, his head swiveling to follow the movements of the snipe that he could feel in his smoke. Kaido in Terabang, the lizard, Momonosuke, if Smoker remembered correctly, echoed. Then creatures like this may be running wild throughout Wano. Wano is outside our jurisdiction, Toshigi muttered, gritting her teeth. Velo cannot get away with this, but if she reaches the country's shores. We'll get her eventually, Smoker said. We have to get ourselves out of this, first, and that means mounting this bird's head on the wall in my office.
You can have the head, Smokey, Luffy said, licking his lips, but my crew gets the meat.
I don't think it has much. Coby trailed off, shaking his head. You know what, never mind. Let's just hunt this snipe before it hunts us. The group turned, backing up so that pirates and marines alike formed a circle to cover each other's backs. Coby found himself with Commodore Smoker on one side and Robin on the other. The group's emotions varied in Koby's observation, the most prevalent including Smoker and Toshigi's serious focus and Luffy's overwhelming hunger. Usopp and Momonosuke's worry undercut the focus and hunger alongside Mary's excitement, but Coby was surprised to feel Robin's silent mirth. Robin, the Rosset muttered, his slitted eyes scanning the Commodore's smoke haze carefully. Why do you seem happy for some reason? We're being hunted. Apologies, Coby, she replied. I suppose, seeing as my default lot in life has been as the constant target of an international manhunt, our current situation does not ruffle my feathers, so to speak. Did you say that just because we're being attacked by a bird? You have no proof of that, she grinned. Coby stiffened. Is something the matter? I can't feel it anymore, Coby muttered. It must have figured out we could sense it and is now masking its presence somehow. I shall find it, Robin assured him. See and Fleur, grasping field. A ring of hands sprouted from the floor around the group, a new, larger ring rising after the first found nothing. This chain expanded as Robin searched for the snipe. Her eyes widened after a moment. "What's wrong?" Tashigi questioned from her other side. "I could not find the creature," the archaeologist replied. "It is climbing and jumping off the walls," Smoker grunted. "I can feel it in my haze. It's being patient, waiting for a moment to strike."
Where is it? Usopp questioned on Smoker's other side. Actually, just say when it's right in front of me. Swallowing some courage for the sake of his crewmates, Usopp pulled back on Kabuto's pouch, readying to release its payload against their surreptitious foe.
"Maybe the snipe has observation haki," Luffy muttered, the rusty gears of his brain trying to come up with a plan. Against all odds, a somewhat clever plan came to him. He grinned. "He can't know where I'll hit if I don't know where I'll hit. Gum gum Gatling." "Captain." Mary blinked. A matching grin grew on her face as an indignant squawk came from somewhere within Luffy's flurry of blows. "It's coming this way," Smoker announced. "Now, long nose." Green star. Red hot fire pepper. The seed the sniper fired hit the floor 3 feet away from him, sprouting into 4 plants spiraling around each other following the original direction. From these plants grew red peppers that were literally on fire, as the name suggested would be the case, lighting the darkness through the smoky haze. From their light could the group see the shadow of the snipe as it fled Luffy's attack. Its rush caused a slight breeze, but this was all it took for one of the peppers to explode violently. That one set off a chain, filling the area with fire and heat.
"Did you get him, Uncle Usopp?" Mary asked. "I hope so," the man muttered.
Another squawk was all the warning they had before the snipe charged, leaping toward Usopp. The pirate cried out as the bird's talons lashed onto his shoulders, drawing blood as the bird's weight drove the team to the floor. Its feathers were so dark that the pirates and marines could see no change, but there was a slight hint of char in the air and a splash of soot along its muted yellow beak. Usopp screamed, snapping his head to the side and just missing the snipe's beak, which punctured a hole in the floor. "Help, damn it." Mary hammers. Pandora's box. The snipe jumped straight upward, leaving only air to take Mary and Koby's attacks. The bird spread its black wings, unleashing a swarm of pointed feathers down on them. Coby and Mary instantly shifted from offense to defense. Each projectile hard as steel but light as a feather, as literal as the turn of phrase was.
"I'll get it," Luffy yelled. "Gum gum rifle." The snipe cut off its attack and interposed its legs, trying to catch the pirate captain's fist in its talons. This only worked somewhat. It did manage to catch his fist, preventing the punch from connecting with anything truly important, but the spin Luffy's rifle attack possessed caused the bird to spin so as well, spiraling away. It managed to hold on until the end, however, as Luffy's arm started to retract.
"Iaido," Tashigi muttered, settling on the pirate's outstretched arm, one hand hovering by Shigur's handle. Song of Severance. She lashed out with her blade, the snipe crying out in pain as it instinctually released Luffy's hand. It vanished into the darkness, leaving behind one wing leaking red blood. "Damn," the woman hissed, dropping to the floor as Luffy's arm retracted fully. "I missed." "That was really cool, copycat," Mary grinned, ignoring Tashigi's demand to not be called by such a nickname. "I don't know if Zoro would be impressed, but I sure am." Why would I care about the approval of that no good pirate in Terabang? The marine stuttered, her hands coming up to cover her cheeks. "Why indeed?" Robin chuckled, raising a hand to hide the way she licked her lips. "Don't be gross, Robin." The Klabouterman ply a question. The woman waved off in that same tone of voice. "I'm certain I do not know what you are trying to imply, Mary. What horrid thoughts have the other's influence tainted you with?" "Oh, don't get me started on the urges I can trace back to your influence, Robin."
"Urges in Terabang," Usopp demanded. "Robin, I think we have bigger issues than Robin's habits right now." Coby interrupted. He crossed his swords, Hoshokusha and Imono absorbing a kick from the snipe out of seemingly nowhere. It didn't stay still for long, Smoker's smoke trying to condense to hold it in place but coming in just a second too late.
"That thing tried to take my head off," Usopp growled. "Give me a straight shot and I'll return the favor." "This bird moves too quickly for us to pin it down," Smoker grunted. "What do you think you can do as a long-range fighter, long nose?" "You underestimate me," Usopp replied, biting down a wince as he moved his injured shoulders. "I've already helped kill 2 dragons today. Compared to them, this bird is nothing. After all, I'm going to be the best Godadamid sniper in the world." "You'll have to beat your dad for that title," Luffy laughed. "Although, I don't think Usopp would mind losing that title to you all that much." "Usopp?" Smoker questioned. "As in, Chaser, Usopp, one of red-haired Shanks' top men?" "Yeah, that's him," both Luffy and Usopp responded in tandem. "Bigger issues," Coby reminded them again. Mary moved, crushing part of the tile. The snipe gave a sort of growling squawk and stabbed her shoulder with its beak. She reached for it, trying to hold it in place, but it vanished too quickly once more. Alright, it's pulling off too many hit and run attacks. We need to draw it in and pin it down. How? Toshigi asked. It's not like we're trying to catch a raccoon or something. But, it might be that simple. Mary grinned as her shoulder healed. This thing is hunting, which means it's either smart enough to enjoy the sport or it's hungry. Considering it lost a wing already and is still coming after us, I'm thinking it's the latter. If we give it some easy bait, we can direct its path. I'd offer myself since I can heal, but I think I just showed it I'll fight back. Bait that won't fight? Luffy echoed, looking down at the lizard around his neck. Like a big, long, pink, annoying, worm-like eel. I am not an eel nor a worm, Momonosuke cried. Not Momo, Mary said, ignoring the small dragon's indignant cry. The legs. Ah, clever, Robin nodded. That works for me, Luffy shrugged.
He'll probably be fine, Tashigi reasoned. Coby blinked.
You've met him? Momonosuke asked. The samurai Kinemon, Smoker confirmed, receiving an enthusiastic nod from the pink zone. His upper half is with Straw Hat's lover and her group. I don't know where they are right now, but I know his head has been reunited with his torso. Well, we best conclude this conflict before ruminating on this day's previous occurrences, Robin suggested. A chain of arms lowered from the ceiling, the hand on the bottom grabbing one of the leg's knees before pulling it upward until they dangled over the group.
Coot. The legs protested. Unhand me. Everyone, backs to the wall. Mary called. The group did so without complaint, each pirate or marine backing up as far as they could and still see the orange-clothed bait. All fell silent. Coby barely dared to breathe, his form slowly shifting into his slasher mode. His needle-like horn was still missing, its exposed end still painful against the air, which was why he'd been avoiding transforming for the battle. Considering he had Hoshokusha and Imono in his hands once more, he was no longer defenseless without his powers, after all.
Pooped. What is this? Kinemon's legs demanded, swinging from side to side. What humiliation is thou subjecting me to? I refuse to be mocked in this manner. Coby felt Usopp move in his observation. Bamboo grew from the floor below the legs, even before the shadow that was the one-winged snipe leapt for the legs. In the air and moving so fast, the avian did not have the reaction time to abort its attack. Usopp's bamboo javelin stabbed upward, piercing its torso. It flailed, trying to get away, only for the motions to wiggle it further onto the plant. That's what I thought, Usopp called. Not so fast now, huh? Squawk. Its struggles slowed as the group closed in, but there was nowhere for the creature to flee to. It gave up the ghost a minute later, falling limp. The haze in the air condensed, returning into Smoker's body. Man, I'm hungry, Luffy grinned, salivating at the thought of his next meal. Let's find Sanji and get him to cook this snipe for us. I want to see if they're just as tasty as my brothers always said they were. How'd you do that, Usopp? Coby asked. I'm just that good, the sniper grinned, rubbing his nose. You see, when I set my sights on something. I told him, the Commodore said, cutting off the pirate's boasting. I could feel it moving toward the bait through my haze. We all made a pretty good team, yeah? Mary laughed. Nay, Smokey and Copycat, do you two want to join our crew? Mary, Luffy admonished. I'm the captain and only I get to ask people if they want to join our crew. He turned to the Marines. Do you two want to join our crew? Not a chance, the man muttered, his hand stopping Toshigi from drawing her sword against the pirate for the question. Can we just return to our ships, reconvene, and formulate our ultimate attack plan? Fine, Luffy sighed. Coby, lead the way. Yes, Captain. Smiley. Caesar called, not having to try hard to feign excitement. He truly did like Smiley more than most of his minions. Oh Smiley. I have a snack for you, come, follow me. Smiley made a noise Caesar chose to accept as assent, the man floating backward toward the massive piece of candy in the boat. The behemoth plodded after him, waddling along through whatever building stood in its way. Smiley's focus shifted from Caesar to the so-called candy as soon as it was in sight, the being's waddle becoming more of a gallop. Swiftly and without needing to be ordered to, it snapped up the offering and hummed. Good boy. Caesar praised even as Smiley's hum became more of a whine, its body starting to foam and bubble. Good boy, oh Smiley, I'm so proud of you. Change form and spread now. Cover the island like you once did and destroy my enemies. Shilalolo. Shalalalolo. Smiley screamed, its body practically boiling as it started to fall apart. Caesar's laugh echoed underneath the roar as the poor bundle of semi-solid gas started to fall apart. The scientist floated backward away from the collapsing creature, his smile as wide as ever. He turned away as Smiley's glowing eyes went dim before losing their light completely. Ignoring the purple smog that began to spread behind him, Caesar focused on the sleigh of fruit. As he knew would happen, one of the fruits began to morph and change, the apple on top turning from a bright red to a darker purple, swirls growing across its surface. Caesar launched downward before the devil fruit had time to finish transforming, the man scooping it into his hand. He held the salamander's own fruit,
Model axolotl with no reverence to what its former user had done for him but instead for what he knew to be the worth of devil fruits in both the open and black markets. If need be, he could easily sell it to fund his next laboratory through either outright selling it or bribing the peoples of whichever island he found himself on.
He frowned, looking into the distance. He could just see where the intruders' ships were, a couple of Velos creations attacking the individuals there. He didn't really need to kill every person on the island. He just needed to leave them stranded with the H2S. A devilish, evil plan came to him, a sick smile twisting over his face. He turned and drifted back over the lake. Already the gas was permeating the water, dead fish and sharks rising to the surface. Upon reaching air, that whiffied into rock, rolling the sea creatures in question over until their whole bodies, or most of them, anyway, were petrified. Upon that time, the stone bodies would sink into the depths, never to be seen again. He reached the shore of the burning lands and extended his hand out toward the purple smog that had, at one time, been his loyal Smiley. He pulled, drawing the gas into himself. More and more, making Caesar grow taller. His white coat turned purple, his very breath breathing the deadly smog into the air only for it to coalesce back into his gaseous body. "Enjoy your last moments," Caesar muttered, floating his way toward the opposite shore now as a giant specter of petrifying death. "It's time I gather examples of Shinekuna's effects for my future buyers." Shiilolololo.